Assalaamu Alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Gamers Podcast, episode number 3. I am Faraj, your host, and joining me today we have Abdul, aka Baba Blood Money. Assalamu Alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
We have Nael. Assalamu Alaikum, Nael.
Salam.
And we also have Laughing Man joining us today. Assalamu Alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Howdy.
Howdy. How are you all doing? So happy to have you guys here.
Alhamdulillah. It's going all right.
It's good.
Good,
Hot
good.
day, but good.
I can hear the excitement in everybody's
I
voices.
know.
Everybody's super excited.
I'm a little bit tired
Yeah.
today. I don't know if you can tell by the bags
Yeah.
under my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a hot day for all of us. We're all dealing with post heat
Yeah.
and post, bug infestations because of the summer that we're trying to fight.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
There's a reason I prefer autumn and winter.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you there. The autumn and winter does bring out a little bit of my old man injury pains in different parts of my body, but I'll deal with that over having to deal with all
Yeah,
these
but
bug infestations.
we're in Southern California. We don't have to deal with snow at least.
That's true. That's true. We don't have to deal with a lot of things.
We go to the snow.
Yeah, exactly.
We want to. And they come back the same day.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I like to do to forget about all these different adulting problems is to play video games. So, we had a pretty heavy news month-ish or last 3 weeks as far as the main thing covering the news is just all the different announcements from all the different companies.
Lots of announcements.
Yeah, so we can jump right into that. So who wants to go first with like something that really caught their eye? Because I caught quite a few of those, but I don't want to talk about every single one of them. There's a lot of it that excited me, so I don't want to. I'll have you guys go.
I'll start off in a general sense. So the Xbox showcase, a lot of people really liked. I enjoyed most of it. My only thing about the Xbox showcase that I didn't enjoy was they didn't have a lot of gameplay trailers. They had a lot of just cinematic trailers and reveals, but there wasn't any actual gameplay in a lot of them, which tells me that all those games are not something that we should expect anytime soon, which is kind of sad. But they did have a good showcase. I'm excited for Gears of War. I'm a pretty big Gears of War fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. So I don't know how many people know about Gears of War here, but they were doing a new trilogy, and we were expected to have the final third game for the new trilogy, but the new trilogy was not well liked by a lot of people because they were just like, it wasn't an interesting story. They scrapped it, or they're not doing it. So they went back to basically the old story with the protagonists, going back to like day one of Gears of War, which is I'm pretty hyped for. But I'm kind of sad we don't get to see the ending of the new trilogy.
Did they say they were going to scrap that entirely, or
They didn't mention anything about it at all. So
yeah, I would hope they at least put some sort of, because I heard I haven't played the fifth one, but it doesn't conclude things off story wise. Like
it leaves you off at a cliffhanger. It's a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah. Yeah. So I still haven't played the fifth one yet. I haven't even beaten the fourth one.
Oh, really?
I restarted my way through. I just set up my Xbox all over again and started playing through the first one, Ultimate Edition. But I'm pretty hyped about. It's called Emergence Day or Emergence War.
Day.
Emergence Day.
Emergence Day.
It's a prequel, basically.
It's pretty
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, pretty hyped for that. Seeing old school Marcus, and it'll be pretty cool. All right. Anything else, guys? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more.
I got a lot of things, but I'll let you guys go.
Yeah, we'll go round table. Give
I
everyone a chance to talk.
What's it called? Oh, it's on the Xbox note, I'm glad to see Fable coming back. I'm pretty excited about that. Fable is just good old fashioned fantasy RPG, just classic. So it's nice to see it getting a modern refresh.
But again, no gameplay.
No gameplay.
They did show gameplay that
for Fable.
That in that trailer that was gameplay. They showed actual gameplay.
In-game. It was in-game.
It was in-game.
It was in-game, yeah, but
in-game / engine.
Yeah, it
It was
wasn't.
in-game engine. It wasn't necessarily gameplay, I think.
Look,
Like, it's not what
Anthem
you're
was
going to be seeing when you're holding the
Anthem was
controller.
in game. We all knew how that turned out.
Right.
No, there
but
was gameplay. Like, when they first revealed it, when the thing goes underwater and starts flying, everyone was super hyped about that. I know
and
I
the
was.
combat they showed off, like that scene where she takes the sword and she's fighting that thing in the forest, like that's straight up
Yeah,
gameplay.
Yeah.
They showed a bit of both, like a little bit of
But it was
engine pre-rendered, but
I don't know.
it was also
I'm just
gameplay.
I'm not buying it still because it was very curated.
I mean, that's
It's a
fair.
trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And it
gonna
is
be
releasing. So I would be skeptical. I would be more skeptical if it had like a TBA or something, but it's releasing next year.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I mean,
I
I will play it. Fable's awesome. I
Yeah.
love Fable.
Fable's
Yeah.
great.
My only thing about
recently
Fable.
replayed all three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say one thing about the Fable trailer is that I feel like one of the defining factors for a Fable for me is the aesthetic of that cartoony look, and they're going for more like quote unquote photorealistic look. So that was the only thing where I was like, I'm gonna miss that a little bit.
They're trying to go more Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. Which I feel like in a way it loses its identity a little bit, but we'll know more about when the actual game comes out. We don't have Peter Molyneux lying to us this time about how this game is going to be the most amazing thing ever, because it's going to have all these different things that don't actually happen in game. So who knows what he's doing right now.
It does have that whimsical. It might not have that art style, but it still has that whimsical tone in the storytelling, the narration. And the characters.
The opening intro of the trailer is, it's very whimsical.
I will say I haven't seen that trailer because there were so many trailers that came out within these past 3 weeks. I haven't caught that trailer in its entirety. I just saw a few clips here and there talked about in different YouTube videos.
There's a lot to catch up on over the last few weeks.
Yeah. There were a few that I did watch in its entirety. Yeah, Laughing Man, why don't you tell us something else? One of the other different games released that excite you.
Yeah, so the Xbox showcase really cooked, which kind of surprised me, because prior to this there was a lot of, we talked about this in the last podcast, there was a lot of, doomsayers, like, oh, Xbox is dead, Microsoft, PlayStation's winning.
Closing all the studios.
Yeah, exactly. But out of the things I saw, the things that really stood out to me, so I'm already excited for Avowed. For those who don't know, Avowed, one of the reasons I'm really excited for it is Avowed takes place in the same universe as two CRPGs, Pillars of Eternity 1 and Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire, made by one of my favorite devs of all time, Obsidian. Obsidian, they're the ones who made Fallout New Vegas. Now, I wanted a Pillars of Eternity 3, but 2 did not sell very well. It reviewed well, but it didn't sell very well. So they went with the more first-person, action-y perspective, but it's still set in the same universe. So I'm really looking forward to that, and there was a lot of complaints about, like, the combat looking clunky. They seem to have cleaned that up. It looks a lot more slick, and you can switch between third and first-person. And Obsidian, they really excel at writing and storytelling. And the Pillars universe is very morally gray. It's playing it as a Muslim actually helped me reflect on certain things related to religion and theology. Yeah. So excited for Avowed, but the thing that really caught my eye off guard, Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark, anyone who knows me remotely knows cyberpunk is my thing. Like, it's my favorite genre, my favorite subgenre, everything. So my first favorite cyberpunk game was Deus Ex. That Perfect Dark trailer captures that feeling of Deus Ex. That first-person stealth, that, immersive sim. We don't have a lot of immersive sims, like Dishonored, Deus Ex. Prey was like probably the last immersive sim that we get.
Prey was dope. Really captures... highly underrated.
Yeah.
There's also the System Shock remake.
There you go, yeah. So it really captures that vibe and feeling. And the storylines, you're playing as some sort of stealth, like, secret agent. And there's going to be, like, some, alien plot involved. It's a reboot of, the original Perfect Dark. So that caught me off guard. I'm really looking forward to that. And then the final thing, there's a bunch, but I'm listing the main three. Dragon Age Veilguard.
You're
Now,
hype.
I know Abdul's gonna disagree with me here. He's
Listeners, get ready for a discussion.
Oh boy.
listen.
we going down this?
Abdul, I'm sorry, my brother. I know you're kind of a salty person now. Kingdom Hearts hurt you. Pokemon hurt you. Looks like Fable kind of took a little swipes.
Nah, Fable's fine. I got nothing wrong with Fable.
Yeah. So, for those who are unaware with the Dragon Age franchise, Baldur's Gate 3 is a love letter to the original Dragon Age Origins, which came out around 2009-ish. And then you have Dragon Age 2, which came out 2011. And then you had Dragon Age Inquisition, which came out in 2014. It's been 10 years since we got a Dragon Age game.
It's been a long time.
And BioWare, they had a bunch of layoffs, a bunch of, issues.
They had Anthem
At one point,
they rebooted the game like 3 times, I think.
There were reports that development was restarted several times. And there was a lot of talk and rumors speculation that Dragon Age is probably dead. It might not even happen. And so when we saw at first the character trailer, it looked a little weird, a little too actiony.
The worst trailer for a Dragon Age game I've ever.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you, and here's why. I'm about to explain. If you look at the original trailer for Dragon Age Origins, they show combat from the beginning where they're fighting the Darkspawn, and there's freaking Evanescence song playing in the background.
I forgot.
Listen,
Dragon Age marketing has always been wonky and weird.
No, okay, it's not about the song. It's about how they present it as a hero shooter. Like if you just watch the trailer, you'd be like, "Is this an RPG game or is this a hero shooter game?" Like
I know, but my point is,
I wish the audio listeners can see Abdul's face right now. It's just
my point is, again, look at Dragon Age Origins. They put metal Evanescence music because that was the hype thing. Like we all remember the "Wake Me Up," that song that every YouTuber used in every montage.
It wouldn't have been that out of pocket for them to do the trailer with Billie Eilish.
And what is the hype thing nowadays? Hero shooters. So whoever did the marketing, it clearly was not. It was not the main BioWare team. I know it wasn't the main BioWare team because one of the former BioWare devs, I think it was
most of the original BioWare team is gone.
No. I'm talking about the current BioWare team. The speculation from what I've read is they don't always do their own marketing trailers. Marketing is often handed off to someone else. But that trailer was kind of questionable, but I still like the characters. I saw the characters.
The characters themselves, I don't have a problem with. It's just the way they were presented.
But
this is the way I took the trailer. The trailer, shows me clear evidence that Dragon Age was meant to go in a different direction, and the reboots caused it to go in a different direction. Because that trailer doesn't sync with the gameplay reveals that they did at all, right?
Right. But ultimately, the gameplay reveals, which happened, what was it, the next day later, it showed this is Dragon Age, this is dark fantasy, Dragon Age, all right. And I don't know if you read Abdul, I don't know if you read the Game Informer article. They did a full page cover story on Veilguard, and there's a lot of beginning prologue spoilers, but I don't care. I'm a huge Dragon Age fan. I read through everything. I don't know if you saw the skill trees. It straight up almost looks like a Final Fantasy X skill tree. There's a lot of character building, customization, and stuff.
I mean, I'm definitely going to play it because I'm also a huge Dragon Age fan. I'm just there are aspects of it that looks good. I'm just worried about the narrative because that's a huge thing about Dragon Age is the story is supposed to be the story is really good, and it's been so long. It's been rebooted so many times. They changed the name for whatever reason. I hope that the story stays intact and they don't go too off the walls. Also, not a huge fan. I'm super not a huge fan of them going from 3 companions to 2 companions. Every Dragon Age game has had 3 companions, and they're bringing that down to 2, which kind of sucks because a lot of the dialogue amongst companions is really fun It's actually
Yeah,
like if you go back to Inquisition, the banter between companions is vital to understand the world. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
and so you're cutting a huge portion of that just by getting rid of a companion.
Well, I think based on what I know, I think that's going to be a little bit resolved with the way the mission system works, because I actually respect this. I don't think every game needs to be open world. That seems to be like the trend with devs.
Agreed.
Like everything needs to be open world. They're not doing open world. What they're instead doing is open hub areas that you explore. And you remember how in Mass Effect 2, you pick a mission, you pick your companions, and you're basically mostly stuck with them, and you do the mission. That's the approach they're going for with Veilguard, which I honestly like. Mass Effect 2, that's one of the best Mass Effects. So they're kind of going for that approach. It's like a more mission-based approach instead of, oh, hey, explore the open world, you come across a quest, you have missions, and you do the mission. So to me, that kind of tells me that it's more directly narrative-based, and they're cutting out a lot of the bloat, because I love Dragon Age Inquisition, but let's not kid ourselves. The top post on Reddit at the time was PSA: leave the hinterlands.
Yeah,
because
it was a nightmare. that game.
So Dragon. This fall, the first thing I'm gonna play this fall is stacked. We got AC Shadows, Dragon Age Veilguard, Avowed. I haven't even mentioned the
coming
Nintendo.
out this year.
Yes. This fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also the Nintendo stuff coming out, which we'll get into in a bit, but I've already made my decision. The first thing I'm going to play is Dragon Age Veilguard. Waited 10 years for this. This Dragon Age was my first...
Not the Kingdom
Dragon
Hearts
Age and
collection?
Witcher.
You're not...
The
Kingdom Hearts collection is already out.
Yeah.
Okay.
You think you're going to be done in time?
Okay, listen. This June was also stacked because we got the Elden Ring DLC, we got Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance, we got the Kingdom Hearts collection, and then you guys, I'll be surprised if any of you know this obscure JRPG called Trails.
I do.
The new entry to Trails is coming out.
Yes.
Trails Through Daybreak. It's stacked, so I had to prioritize, and I got the Elden Ring DLC, which I'm playing, and we'll discuss in a bit. A friend gifted me Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance for my birthday, and another friend, he's going to gift me Daybreak, and that leaves Kingdom Hearts, and I'm just like, you can wait.
It's good.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I'll be there. I have to, like, my time is super limited. I'm going to have to pick between Veilguard and Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's going to be a tough choice.
Veilguard. Pick Veilguard.
It has to be Veilguard.
It has to be Veilguard.
It has to be Veilguard.
Because, okay, I love the new AC Shadows, and I'm very excited for the story, and I always love looking into the history. But it's Dragon Age. Assassin's Creed, we're guaranteed one every 2 years, man.
Of course.
Like,
and it's not going anywhere. I mean, if anything, playing it a little bit later is probably beneficial because you can get like the other edition,
more stable version.
The more stable version, or like the complete edition for like cheaper price too. But okay, low key, I'm really excited for the new Star Wars Outlaws. It looked really good.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that I'm finding surprised that you're excited about that. Not that I'm saying you should.
Really good. It's like it's not gonna be like game changing. It's not gonna like, win awards, but it looked like a really solid, good.
Wait, hold on. You don't know that. It might win some awards. You don't know that.
That's true.
You don't know
that.
that.
You're right. It just looked like a really solid. Like, this is a low bar too, because we've had really trash Star Wars games for so long, except Jedi Fallen Order, which was really great.
Survivor, the sequel.
Jedi CPU Survivor, because your CPU would need to survive at the end of the game.
Outlaws looks like a really good scoundrel game, like you're playing as a scoundrel in the world of Star Wars. Like, people have wanted that for so long, and when we finally have it, and it looked really good.
Yep, I'm still crying that we didn't get KOTOR 3 and instead we got an MMO.
I know, man. KOTOR.
Still crying about that.
One day, maybe
we can keep hoping. We can keep hoping.
Maybe once.
I wish I wish BioWare would just take the MMO, strip away the MMO stuff, and release it as a single player game, because
Yes.
I actually have
I
played
can say that
MMOs.
about so many games.
I
honestly.
do that MMO is the best single player Star Wars game you can play.
Yes. Yeah. But I played through half the storylines, but I couldn't do the rest because the MMO gameplay just got really annoying. Like, go through this area, press 1, 2, 3 on your keyboard. It just got really annoying.
My wife and I actually powered through the entire game, and she loved it. I loved it too. The story was really great.
Which storylines was your favorite? I like the Imperial Agent. That one.
The Imperial Agent storyline, amazing. Like top tier, best storyline in the game. I'd say the next one up for me after Imperial Agent was probably the Sith Inquisitor. I really like Sith Inquisitor.
Oh yeah, that one's pretty good as well. Yep.
Okay, quick question for both of you, and maybe even now too, if you played any of these. Would you guys say that? I mean, KOTOR 1 and 2, they're classics, and people always recommend playing those. Would you guys say it's worth it to go through Dragon Age Origins 2 and Inquisition?
Yes, you definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Do not play Veilguard if you have not played those games.
Okay. No, but you wouldn't think that Origins is, at least the gameplay wise, is kind of dated, or
no? I think it holds up. I think
here's the main reason. BioWare kind of did this, and other companies haven't really done this. The decisions you make in Dragon Age Origins, when you start Dragon Age 2, it reads your save file from Origins, and the decisions you make influence the world state of 2. And
just like
you can have completely different playthroughs.
Except we don't get a crappy third ending.
We don't talk about Mass Effect 3, man.
Didn't they patch that out? No, let's not get
into
that.
They did. They did. But
they added a more extended ending. But yeah. And for Inquisition, they made a whole website called Dragon Age Keep, because Dragon Age 2 was made on a different console generation. So for Inquisition, they made a whole website. You go on this website, there's a whole tapestry. Every single major quest decision. Yeah. And you make your decisions on Keep. And when you start Dragon Age Inquisition, it asks you if you want to download your Keep save state. And if you do, all those decisions you made carry over into Inquisition. Now, they said for Veilguard, they're not going to use Keep, but in the beginning there will be questions that determine your world state. And they did
kind of like Witcher.
Yeah. Witcher does the same thing. If on PC, Witcher 1 save file transfers over to 2, and 2 save file transfers over to 3, which they kind of got inspired from BioWare. Yeah. And they did confirm the character you played in Inquisition, the Inquisitor, you can port them over. You can recreate how they look in Veilguard. So you absolutely, yes, you should play Dragon Age Origins and 2.
Yeah, and the gameplay wise, they hold up because they're more like top-down CRPGs esque. Yeah. So
2 is a little bit more action-ish, right?
2 is a little bit more action-y. It's a little bit more. Yeah. I would say 2 is kind of a little bit more dated than Origins, surprisingly, in terms of gameplay.
Because it's a little bit closer up.
Yeah, and the budget was smaller and stuff like that. But this, you definitely have to play them because this story, you can't just watch it on YouTube. There's so many things you'll miss.
Especially when it's your own journey going through it. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, because I have all 3. What's funny is I don't think I paid for any 3. I think they were just giving them out for free through the EA they Game of the Week or whatever. So I have all 3. Yeah. So just going to add that to the infinitely growing backlog, which is why I don't think we're going to buy any of these games we're talking about anytime soon.
They frequently go on sale. Now, with that said, Dragon Age Origins, like Abdul said, it is a top-down CRPG, but it's not turn-based. The combat is real-time with pause. What does that mean? Imagine playing StarCraft, but you can pause and micromanage your units, but you only control 4 units, which some people can get into that. Some people might get annoyed by that because during combat you're constantly pausing. The first time I played on easy because it was my first time playing such a game, and I was overwhelmed.
And there's
but
no
then I got the hang of
easy.
it. Oh yeah, once I got the hang of it, I played on normal. Is it
similar to Knights of the Old Republic? But
yes,
more real, but more real time.
Yeah, but more real time.
Yeah. It's more like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. If you've played the OG Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, which BioWare also made.
Yes.
But yeah,
like Pillars of
gra-
Eternity.
Yeah.
But yeah,
yeah.
I want to
Pillars
say
of
Baldur's
Eternity
Gate was the
1.
first game BioWare ever made, if I'm not
Um,
mistaken. Maybe not the
let me
first, but it was
check.
one of the earliest
Fact
ones.
check. Fact check.
Yeah, because I
I'm looking it up.
remember listening to the History of Awesome podcast made by IGN years ago, and they were talking about the origins of BioWare, and they were
Second
supposed to
game.
do like biomedical software, which is why they're called BioWare.
Oh, like
Second
training
game.
software,
Their-
training games.
Their first game
Tra-
was Shattered
It wasn't
Steel.
games. I think they were supposed to
Shattered
do some
Steel?
sort of
It's a mech simulation game, which is interesting.
Very
I
interesting.
think
But
I
yeah,
heard about that.
Faraj, I have my best friend who got me into D&D and all these RPGs and stuff. That's what he told me. BioWare started out by med students
Mhm.
and like biomedical engineers, and yeah, that's why they're called BioWare. And then they decided to go into game
Gaming.
development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for context, I have played all 3 Dragon Age games a little bit. I just never beat
Mhm.
the story. Just because when you have so many games and video game ADD, like I do, it's
Oh
hard
yeah,
to
they
focus on just
are
one.
kind of Dragon Age Origins is a bit long.
Mhm.
Inquisition is very long.
Yeah.
There's a ton of bloated quests. If you want, the last time I played it, I actually made a Word document extensively researching which quests are necessary for story and which can be skippable. I can send that over to you.
I
so you
don't
can,
think I'm
like,
going to be getting to that anytime soon, unfortunately.
if you ever,
Yeah,
if you
if I
ever,
ever.
need it. Yeah.
If I ever, maybe 10 years down the line, I'll probably let you know.
Dear God,
Anyone-
your kids will probably finish it
Probably.
before you do.
anyone
Probably.
Metal Gear fan here? Anybody?
Yeah.
The,
So-
Weapon
to
they're
surpass
remaking
Metal Gear.
They're remaking. I mean, they're
Snake Eater.
remaking Snake Eater
Snake
without Kojima.
Personally, my favorite of the Metal Gear games.
Yeah, Snake Eater's legendary.
Yeah.
My favorite is 2 Sons of Liberty because the plot twist and the social commentary.
Yes. Yeah, it was very fitting for the time, especially post 9/11. But going back to what Abdul said, this is not the first Metal Gear Solid game fully being made without Kojima. They had the whole, I think it was related to the Legacy Collection or the new remake collection, whatever, where they had David Hayter, the original voice of Solid Snake and Naked Snake, come out, just talking these games up without a single mention of Kojima, which I can't blame Hater for that because he's just following a script. But yeah, it's just they're kind of, it's no longer like
really
a Hideo
trying to
Kojima
distance
game.
themselves.
Yeah, I don't know how
Yeah.
I feel about it. I mean, I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid fan, but I don't know.
Without Kojima?
So it is a remake, so like it's not like they're making new story. They
Right.
did that with Metal Gear Survive, which we don't talk about.
I've never heard of that game. I don't think it ever exists. So
Yeah, that's true. What am I saying? There were some complaints aside from the dumb internet, like the character, the boss, she doesn't look very well or she looks too woke. I've seen some dumb comments about that, which it's kind of like, did you filthy casuals ever play Metal Gear Solid? Like, but yeah, there were some complaints about the way characters look and the lighting. There were some complaints about like the lighting and how the original had like this dim lighting to give like this kind of grim
like
tone
a gritty
and atmosphere, this gritty atmosphere. Whereas the new one, it looks amazing, but it's a little too like, well lit. But I don't think that's like a major issue that can always like be fixed. They
Just
didn't
turn
even
your
announce a
monitor's
release
brightness
date. Turn off HDR.
Yeah.
They didn't put a release date, which makes me think like it's still like probably going to be some time before we get it.
Yeah, probably is.
But I'm just glad. I don't know if you guys know this, but for the longest time, Metal Gear Solid 3, the cutscenes, they were remade in the Fox engine.
Don't bring that up. That makes me so
But
mad.
they were stuck on pachinko machines.
Yeah, that's why I said don't bring him up, because they make him mad. They made it in the Fox.
But they're now free from the pachinko.
So is this game being made fully in the Fox engine or is it a new engine?
Let me.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Yeah, because I know Kojima didn't take the Fox engine with him. I think Konami owns the rights to that, so
Yeah,
they might just be free to use it on there.
Oh, they're using Unreal Engine 5 actually.
Oh,
Yeah, I think they're.
Yeah, they're not using
Death
this is
Stranding
the
with Unreal.
first. This is the first Metal Gear since Koji Pro parted ways that they're not using the Fox engine.
Hmm.
They're going full Unreal.
Okay.
It's a little surprising because I think the Fox engine, if you played Metal Gear Solid 5 today, it holds up pretty damn well.
Yeah, for a game that's almost 10 years old, it's crazy how good that game still looks today.
Oh yeah,
Metal Gear Solid 5.
And it ran well even on low-end machines back when it released as well.
Mm-hmm.
Very well optimized.
Yeah, Metal Gear. I don't know. I guess we've waited long enough for, and I would have liked to see maybe a full-on remake of Metal Gear 1 instead of Snake Eater, but maybe that's down the line. I know we have Twin Snakes, which plays in the same engine as MGS2, but good luck getting your hands on that legally.
Maybe they're doing it because it's a popular one,
Yeah.
It's a fan favorite.
Yeah, they're going to test out the waters with it probably.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Yeah, there's some commentary out there saying that Kojima is starting to garner back some of that goodwill with this trailer. We'll see.
We'll see. They're still mostly a gambling company now.
Yeah. One of the games that really caught my eye. If anyone knows me, I love Doom. Which is why
I was about to mention that.
Yeah, since you were mentioning all the Doom sayers, I thought you were going to talk about Doom, but yeah, Doom: The Dark Ages.
That's a good one. Missed opportunity. My bad.
Yeah,
I failed
that's okay. It's okay. I'll forgive you for now. So you just don't make that mistake again. But yeah, Doom: The Dark Ages. I love the Doom games. I don't know if one of the things that makes the Doom games for me, the newer ones, is the soundtrack of Mick Gordon. I got to see him perform the Doom soundtrack live in 2016 when I attended the Game Awards, and it's just insane. My neck started hurting the next day because of how much I was headbanging. Yeah, it's that's how much I love the Doom soundtrack, the Doom games.
But the new Doom isn't going to have the same composer, right?
It's not. So that's why that's the one thing that has me kind of being like, But when I saw Doom guy pull out that shield and being able to throw Captain America style and being able to parry with it, and then I saw the dragons and that you can ride, and then I saw the mech that you can pilot. Yeah, I'm ready for this game.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget that gun that collects skulls.
Oh yeah, that
and then
just shoots out their fragments.
Yeah,
this is full on. I love how much is embracing it. I think there was even a Morningstar or flail at some point as well. There was just so much going on in that trailer.
It's like a little bit slower paced in terms of combat.
Yeah,
it seems like ammo is going to be a little bit rarer to find. So you're like more like melee focused, but it looks really good. It's really good.
I never got a chance to play it yet. Did any of you play Doom Eternal?
Yes, I didn't beat it, but it's also super fast paced.
I played it for a bit.
Yeah, there's quite a lot going on. Even on the easier difficulties, it's constantly like a mental game of knowing the rock paper scissors ish thing to do, like what to do when your health goes low, and if you run out of ammo with this gun, what to do with the other gun. There's a bit more doing that in Doom Eternal compared to
shooter
2016.
On rails.
So that's one complaint, or not a complaint, but like a criticism I've heard from some friends. Some Doom fans, they like 2016 Doom, which is like super fast paced, just run and gun, get the adrenaline pumping. Whereas Doom Eternal seemed to be like that more rock, paper, scissors that you mentioned, where certain enemies, you have to use this tactic. And some people didn't quite like that slower pace, and it looks like Doom Dark Ages is also going with that kind of more slower, methodical pace, and some people just like that. Do whatever fits your, what do you want? What weapon do you want to use, and just go crazy. So what do you since you're a huge Doom fan, like what do you think of that slowing down combat?
So from what I saw, it's hard to judge just based on the gameplay that I saw. I feel like I'd be able to better tell once the game comes out and I actually get to play it, because I thought I was gonna really like Doom. I mean, I do really like Doom Eternal. I thought I was really gonna keep playing it as much, but usually I end up stepping away from the game after doing like one stage, just wanting to take a break just because of how mentally exhausted I feel afterwards. I'm sure some listeners or viewers are probably going, "Oh, get good, scrub," but yeah, it's okay. I want to play games how I want.
Getting old, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm just saying, you know those like old retirement uh centers, homes where old people hang out.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be playing FPSs, and the insults are going to be off the charts. Like, listen here, Alan, I still got those reflexes. 1v1 me, scrub.
360 no scope, Russ. Let's go.
Have you guys seen that one video of like what's gonna happen once Gen Zers or Gen Alpha ends up in nursing homes, and it's just this dude, like the nurse
The
is coming back
TikToks
and
are gonna
saying,
be wild.
yeah, she was like, "Oh, I can't find your
The
group of
iPad
shade."
kids in the nursing homes.
It's
Oh,
like
man.
skibbity toilets everywhere.
Yep. Yeah. That's basically what that video was. I gotta send that video to you guys.
On a quick
just what I
side note,
picture.
I don't know if you know this. They're not like a huge pro team, but there's like this Counter-Strike team made up of like 60, 70-year-olds. And they play in some like small casual tournaments. And one of the players, I think his handle is Teen Destroyer or something, because he most of the Counter-Strike people are like young people, so it's old men and old women, and yeah, they actually go head to head and go even with some of the younger folks. They still got it.
That's sick that they're able to keep their
I-
reaction time live,
Yeah.
especially for CS:GO.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
Isn't there that one? I don't know if he's a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer. It's like Shooter Grandpa or something like that. Yeah, he's just
Shooter
wrecking on.
Grandpa?
I haven't come across.
Is
him,
it
but
the
I
one?
believe
Is he? Does he the one that plays Battlefield?
Yeah, I want to see he plays
Yeah,
Battlefield mostly.
yeah. And he
Yeah.
just like absolutely
Oh.
destroys
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
everybody. It's awesome.
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I feel on it, playing games now. We'll get into it more once we get into the now playing section. But playing games now that I used to play back in the day, I find myself getting better, especially with the shooting and the racing
Yeah.
side of things. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm hoping once I get to my nursing home age, I'll be able to really keep up.
Your fingers will be.
Well, hopefully your kids don't put you in a nursing home.
No, that's why I said
Hey, as long as it has
nursing-
Wi-Fi.
That's why I said
guess,
nursing
yeah.
centers. Maybe they don't put him in a home. Maybe he just goes there to hang out.
Yeah, just a
with,
senior
you know,
center.
his-
Yeah,
just-
it's just gonna
yeah,
look
yeah.
like
Maybe-
our old
maybe-
school LAN
Internet
cafes.
cafes will
Just
come
one of those
back,
senior community
guys.
homes.
They'll
Yeah.
just be,
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
just be
It's like
gaming stations.
maybe he just really likes the fruit punch that they serve. Like
Instead of water aerobics, it's just everybody's just hanging out in the LAN party
The
room.
gaming cafe.
yeah, it's a senior gaming cafe basically.
Yeah, they're gonna make a comeback. I know it.
I know we've been mostly talking. Actually, there was one more game I wanted to mention on the Microsoft side of things.
Go for it.
Any of you guys been playing any of Diablo 4 at all?
I launched
been
it.
interested.
I
Was the
finished the
announcement, wasn't it?
tutorial, and that's about it.
The
That's
new
about it, yeah.
season? Are you talking about the new season
Or
announcement, or
just the
DLC?
game at all? Period.
So I've been interested, but I've held off on it because when it first came out, I heard the end game was like super grindy, but they kind of fixed that.
Yes.
But I don't know. If you guys have played it, what do you think of it? Do you think it's grindy? Is it better? Do you
So
enjoy it?
I haven't gotten to the end game yet, but with the new season, with the way they've redone a lot of the loot and the mechanics, it's like I feel like I'm able to level up a lot faster. So I can only imagine end game is going to be a lot better. So they did announce the new expansion it's a completely cinematic trailer, and it is, man, it's there's a lot of body horror going in there. So if you haven't seen it yet, just that disclaimer. But it still does look very interesting. They're bringing in a new class as a part of that as well, so that has me pretty hyped. But I'm not gonna make the mistake that I made with Diablo 4 and getting it at launch. Gonna wait it out a little
That's
bit,
fair.
see how it does.
Is it going to be part
I
of Game
get it.
Pass? You know,
That's a good
The
question.
DLC?
That's a good
Yeah.
question. I don't know. Usually they don't include DLC as part of Game Pass, so
it's true they don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there are some parts of that I think it should be live now, where now you get to have pets in the game. I haven't had a chance to
Yeah,
check
the
out the game
pets and I think
since-
the loot system is already in place.
It looks like you get a discount for the DLC if you're
Mm.
sub to Game Pass.
Okay, that's
Oh.
good. Yeah, if you guys got Game Pass, that game is a lot of fun playing with friends. I have a lot more. It's gotten better playing solo because the grind isn't as much, but you actually get a little bit of an XP boost when you play with friends.
Oh, let me know when
So,
you're on. We'll,
Yeah, let's do
And
it.
apparently, it's a really good game to play on Steam Deck.
Yes.
Because of the
Yes.
control scheme and
Mhm.
the way it plays mechanically.
Yeah, when with the settings lowered almost all the way down, keeping it at maybe 90. No, I think I kept it at 100% resolution scale. I was getting somewhere between like 12 to 15 TDP, which means like that's about like 2 to 3 hours on a full charge. But because since you need the internet to play that game, and I'm home most of the time anyway, I just remote stream it through Moonlight and Sunlight and just play it off of my PC.
Okay,
And
it really pisses me off how the certain games, unless it's like Helldivers or like an MMO, I know why they require a constant internet connection. Part of it is to collect data, because all these companies love collecting your data and selling it off to third parties. And the other is like it's a form of DRM. Because if it's constantly online, it's harder for, pirates and stuff to crack it. But it still annoys me, like stuff like Diablo 4. It should have an offline version. Like, what if you would just want to play it solo? Like, you're on the go or something.
remember, you guys were talking about how the old Republic would be perfect if they just took out the MMO-ness of it.
Yeah.
A lot of games fall under that, just like Diablo 4. As an adult that has kids and other responsibilities, I like to be able to pause the game and have the game actually pause, and you can't do that with Diablo 4. You could do that with all the other Diablos before it, but not with Diablo 4. But I still play it because it's a lot of fun, especially when you have a friend that can just if you need to step away from your computer or whatever, they can really and
Highly. Go ahead, finish your thought.
no, I was just gonna say it plays really well with mouse and keyboard, and surprisingly well with controller. Sometimes, like the other day, I was playing with a friend of mine, and I just done leg day at the gym, and my legs were done. I didn't want to sit at my desk. I just wanted to sit back at my recliner, had my PC connected to my TV, and was just sitting back in a recliner playing with the controller. And I was having a blast.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I highly recommend Last Epoch for anybody that has a Diablo itch and doesn't want to play Diablo, because Last Epoch has a offline mode and it's actually really good. It's a really good Diablo.
Oh yeah,
mode.
I've heard positive things about it. The best summary a lot of people have given me is that it's not too casual like Diablo, because some people found Diablo a little too casual. But it doesn't require a PhD dissertation like Path of Exile. So it's like
yeah, it's not Poe level insane.
It's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, so it's good. I highly recommend it.
Speaking of Path of Exile, they showed a little bit more gameplay. Path of Exile 2.
Oh, 2?
Yeah, looks really good. But it's also free to play games that even have this.
I'm surprised they're doing split screen couch co-op for Path of Exile.
You don't know how excited I am for that. Like, I have something to play with my wife.
If you've ever played
you
the
really
console
want
version,
you really want to drag her into Path of Exile. I feel sorry for her.
We'll see.
Yeah. I think we talked about quite a bit. Were there any other Microsoft games that we may have missed, or at least games that were announced in the Microsoft Showcase? Or at least anything worth talking about?
The Indiana Jones looked pretty good.
I was going to bring up Indiana Jones.
Yeah, if you watch
I
don't know, man. I don't know.
It was giving Uncharted, bro. That's why I was like.
But he is the original Uncharted.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
He's the OG.
It's technically machine games.
I feel like it's gonna be kind of fun.
But it's Bethesda, and they didn't show gameplay.
They did.
It was very, very short. It was like very short snippets.
That's fair.
Okay, of like very cute thing again, and it's Bethesda. And it's Todd Howard. Don't believe his lies.
Was it Todd Howard or is it under Machine Games?
It's not under. I don't think it's under Todd Howard.
Yeah, because it's the same guys that made the Wolfenstein games, and one thing they know how to make is games where you beat up and kill Nazis.
Wolfenstein was good.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It is actually it is made by the Wolfenstein devs, and based on the trailer, very first thing they showed was, punching some Nazis.
I don't know. I'm skeptical.
I think you have it right to be. Yeah, because Machine Games is technically under the Bethesda umbrella.
If they pull it off, I'm gonna have a fun time. If they don't, I'll be sad.
If they don't, you'll have an okay time, and that's still okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's still a fun IP.
If you don't, you can go back to Kingdom Hearts.
Because look, here's the thing: if they pull it off, it could be the next Uncharted type IP, where they have like 3-4 games off of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. It has potential.
I just had a random idea. If we get a certain milestone with this podcast, should Abdul do a full live stream playthrough of Kingdom Hearts? Maybe.
Yeah, Kingdom
1
Hearts 1
million
and 2.
subs, he'll do it.
I will happily play through
No,
those
only
games.
three. Only three. Just make him
No.
only play 3. It's got to be some sort of like, thing where you're not fully enjoying yourself, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This thing better blow up for me to have.
Faraj, you just reminded me randomly. Okay. The other game that unexpected really hit me, Expedition 33. It is a Western RPG. So if you notice JRPGs, they're often very anime-esque, the art style and stuff. And they're usually turn-based. This is a Western RPG that uses turn-based combat. And the turn-based combat looks like Persona. It looks amazing. The art style looks amazing. It has that gritty Western RPG feel. And the combat is turn-based, which really excites me because it's not just character standing still. It feels very, dynamic and stuff.
Yeah, I think I did see a little bit about that in one of the videos. The art style does look very good. Just the visual, the aesthetic of it. Yeah. But that's a very non-SEO friendly name, Claire Obscure Expedition 33. So,
the name is, most people just call it Expedition 33.
Yeah, we'll see how well it does sales wise. I mean, there's a lot of these. I don't know if I'd call it this. I guess you'd call this game AAA, but like non-major known publisher AAA games or even AA games, I think this is the year for them. So. Think that they're but are they coming out this year or are they next year? But they haven't even announced a release date, have they?
For Expedition 33?
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm looking at their Steam page and it still says to be announced on there. So
2025. It's set to release in 2025.
2025?
So next year.
Okay,
yeah.
Sometime 2025. So
real quick, I know we have to move on to our topic, but as a strategy game genre lover, 2 games I have to shout out. There's a new Star Wars XCOM game in the works. Looks super awesome. And a new Anno game. I'm super hyped for those.
nice.
Did they show any gameplay of that Star Wars XCOM type?
No,
game?
it's just
it's announced. They
just
said they're
announced.
working on it.
Yeah. So it's gonna be some time, but I am super hyped for that.
Okay.
The Star Wars XCOM game, actually, that works really nicely.
Well,
It
yeah.
does.
Formula
Doesn't that
really
sound
good.
super
On paper,
dope?
sounds
It'll
really nice.
it'll scratch that coder itch a little bit.
A little bit.
and
Just a
the
little
and
bit.
the XCOM itch.
Yeah,
XCOM
and-
fans.
So
And XCOM,
it's made by a lot of the guys that made XCOM and also Midnight Suns. So the dev team is it's gonna be an interesting mix.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
imagine taking like a narrative approach of Midnight Suns, but actually Star Wars instead of Marvel, and the expertise
Is the
of
Marvel
XCOM.
game really an XCOM game? It's more of a card battler.
It's a card game mostly, but like
It's a dating sim card battler.
I'm actually playing through it right now. I'm having a good time. It's actually
I don't think
good.
I don't think it's a bad game. I have
Good
it.
game. I mean, some of
plays
the
well
things
on
is a little bit
Steam
over the
Deck.
top. It does get the dialogue it gets very cringy sometimes, but it's
It's a dating sim.
it's a good game.
It's bound to happen with the dialogue.
Anyways, okay, let's move on.
Did you guys watch any of the gameplay for Assassin's Creed Shadows? Because I know we talked about that quite a bit last episode.
Oh yeah. It just as they kind of told us in the original teaser, if you play as Naui, it's more stealthy.
Mm-hmm.
If you play as Yasuke, it's very aggressive, very visceral. A lot of people, they're like, oh, this clearly they took some cues and inspiration from Ghost of Tsushima, which is funny because Ghost of Tsushima clearly took some cues from Assassin's Creed. So, the whole thing comes full circle.
Nods to each other.
Yeah. I didn't catch too much of it, but I mean, gameplay wise, usually at least those games tend to be pretty fun. The newer Assassin's Creed games. Did you guys see anything in the Sony state of play that excited you other than Astrobot? Because for me, that was it.
Ragnarok's coming to PC. That's it.
Yeah, I'm just
It was,
excited
it
for
was a
those games to
little,
come on
little
PC
quiet.
next year. I don't have a PS5, so not much.
I don't have a
excited
newer
about.
GPU, and I feel like it'd be cheaper for me to get a PS5
Uh,
just to
Yeah.
be able to enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You might as
'cause-
well wait until the PS5 Pro, which is rumored to release.
Yeah, or I'm just trying to
Oh.
wait until there's a sale or something for it and not have to spend $500+.
That's also true.
on a
Yeah.
video
What
game
about
console.
how about Nintendo, guys?
Yeah, we haven't talked about Nintendo at
had
all.
some fun stuff.
There's one game from Nintendo. I mean, there were some good
There's-
games mentioned there, but there's one that just has me over.
Legends
like when I
of Link?
saw it, no. I mean, it's very interesting, but I love Metroid, especially the Metroid Prime games. And when
Metroid,
I saw Metroid Prime 4, and it was more than just
Very
a title
exciting.
card, and they got into gameplay, I'm like, it doesn't look as great as I thought. I mean, I shouldn't say not as great. It doesn't look as like fast paced or as polished as I thought it would. I want to say it's Retro Studios that's making the same guys that made Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3. That's making 4 as well. So the fact that they're making another Metroid Prime like first person adventure type game, I'm all
yeah,
for it.
Pretty
Metroid fans finally getting
Yeah.
getting some food.
And they don't have to wait for the next system, which is nice. To
Yeah.
Get it.
Well, maybe it'll perform better on the next system. You know?
Yeah,
Probably. I'm sure they're
it's-
developing it for both, but
Yeah.
it will
Yeah.
release for the Switch.
I feel like it'll be like a launchish title for the Switch 2.
Maybe.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
I think
one
it's
game
January
that was announced,
2025.
Oh,
Prime
is it?
4?
I believe it was January. We can fact check that real quick.
Yeah, I'm checking it right now. It just says set to release in 2025. That's all it says.
So, I mean,
on the
there was a
Wikipedia
lot of
page.
dates being thrown at us, so I
Yeah.
may have forgotten.
Yeah.
Wait, Prime 4 was announced at E3 2017? Dear
Mhm.
God.
Yeah,
That-
it was just a
yeah.
title card. Yeah, we thought it was
Wow.
gonna. Yeah, we still haven't.
Oh,
We did get the Metroid Prime remastered.
Speaking of long announcements,
Long announcements.
Beyond Good and Evil 2. Anybody?
So I didn't
Okay,
see anything announced
listen.
for Beyond Good and Evil 2.
They
Also,
they mentioned it that it's still in development. That's all they said.
see, that's why I
will
put my
believe
crying
it.
face emoji next to your part of the notes in the Google Doc.
Yeah.
They're really going for that record.
I will believe it when I see it, because the last time we saw... And also, the title is so weird, because Beyond Good and Evil 2 is supposed to be a prequel. Why do you call it a prequel? Why do you put the number 2 if it's supposed to be a prequel?
Hey, Red Dead Redemption 2 did it.
You know what? They can get away with it because the game is already good. Like I'll forgive them. They actually deliver. Listen, when you deliver, when you cook and you deliver, I can overlook some dumb naming conventions. But this, they haven't cooked anything. All they showed was a really cool pre-rendered cinematic trailer that has a ton of Hindu mythological references, which I think is kind of cool. And then, what was it? Joseph Gordon-Levitt appeared on E3 several years back, and he's like, all right, I'm asking for art volunteers. Make art, and we will feature it on the buildings. And I'm like, you want free labor. This is
Basically.
This is free, unpaid labor.
Mhm.
And then after that, we didn't hear anything about it. So
Yeah, it's gone through like 3 different art styles and gameplay videos. There was
Yeah.
that one that was spoofed
Yeah.
where it looked like, because it was at the age of like everything was a quick time event, so it was like a little gameplay video they released and someone overlay like press A for everything. That was pretty funny. This was back in like 2010 or 2011 or something, but
they basically like a pseudo Tales game, basically.
basically,
Mm.
but one good little bit of good news on the Beyond Good and Evil front is that they did release a 20th anniversary edition of it
Remaster.
that you can get
Oh
on.
yeah,
Mhm.
they
you know?
did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's available on PC, and I want to say even the modern consoles as well, because trying to get the OG version of that game working on your PC can be a pain. And I don't think I think the Beyond Good and Evil HD is backwards compatible on the Xbox, but that's about it. So getting a more modern, version of it that's got most of those bugs and everything worked out to be able to play on PC is definitely, if you haven't played Beyond Good and Evil, 100% recommend playing that, at least if that's the way to play it.
Two things which stood out from the Nintendo trailer for me were, so I have, well, I don't have it, but I've tried the demo. I've always wanted to play a Dragon Quest game, and I know they're like Final Fantasy, each one's standalone. And I know
I
which
know
one
where
to
you're going
start
with this.
with now, because they're doing that HD remake of Dragon Quest 1 and 2.
The HD
which-
2D,
Three.
the 2D HD.
Well,
They're
they're
doing
doing
yeah.
one,
They're
two,
starting
and
with
Dragon
three.
Age, Dragon Age 3.
They're gonna come out with
Not
three
Dragon
later
Age,
this
Dragon
year.
Quest.
Dragon Quest, sorry.
Quest.
Dragon Quest
Yeah,
3.
they're
Wow,
doing 1 and
my
2
brain.
together,
Sorry,
and
I'm
then
tired.
3 as a separate one.
So 3
Yeah,
is
that's
actually
true.
coming out first. It's coming
Yeah.
out later this
Oh,
year,
okay.
and 2 is coming out because 3 is a prequel.
Ah.
Yeah. So and
Oh
they're
my
doing 1 and 2 together next year. So
Yeah.
that's a great, perfect order to play it through.
Pretty
That's
hyped for
fair.
those remakes.
Yeah. I have
And
already added
the-
it to my wishlist on Steam.
And the other one, I don't know if you guys are fans of the Ace Attorney series. There
Yes.
were 2 games released for the DS. Ace Attorney Investigations, where you play as Miles Edgeworth. Ace Attorney Investigations, the first one was localized. And the second one, which released around 2011, was never localized. And all the future Ace Attorney games got localized. Dual Destiny, Spirit of Justice, Great Ace Attorney. Investigations 2 just never got localized. And so fans did a fan localization. And it's pretty good. One thing for people who don't know about Ace Attorney series, it's puns galore. All the characters in the Japanese version, their names are puns, and so the localizers have to be creative and make the puns work in English. So, for example, the main character, Phoenix Wright, he's a phoenix, he's rising from the ashes, and he's Wright. He's a defense attorney. His Japanese name is Ryuichi Naruhado, which translates to Ryuichi is like a type of dragon. Naruhado means I see, like a defense attorney seeing the facts of the case and going, I see. So they did a good job with the fan localization. But now the official, we're finally, after what was it, more than 10 years, we're getting an official localization. And not just localization, they're doing a soft remake. They're redoing all the sprites, everything, putting in QOL stuff. And it's releasing on everything, Switch, PC, everything. So that really hyped me up. Never in a 10, 20, 30 years would I ever think this obscure, visual novel that never got an English localization is finally getting one. So,
By the way, they're great games to play on the Switch. At least the new ones that have come out.
very
on
good
Steam.
handheld.
Or the Steam
They're
Deck.
also out on iOS
On the
and
deck.
Android. If you want to play on your phone. Which, kind of speaking of that,
For
it's
the
not in the
filthy mobile
showcase.
gamers.
Go back to Genshin.
Kind of related to this, it is not in the showcase, but I don't know if you guys saw this. PC Gamer did an interview with Hidetaka Miyazaki, the head of FromSoft and the creator of Dark Souls.
I know where you're going with this too.
And he asked him, will Bloodborne get a remaster or a port? And Miyazaki just laughed and he's like, FromSoft doesn't own the IP and I can't really answer questions regarding that. So the interviewer he got clever and he phrased this question a different way. He said, would you, Mr. Miyazaki, like to personally see Bloodborne on PC? And Miyazaki and the whole FromSoft team, they started laughing. And Miyazaki said, yes, everyone here at FromSoft would love to see Bloodborne on PC. But anytime I talk about this, I get in trouble. I don't want to, he basically doesn't want to get in trouble. But he said, yes, him and the other people would love to see it on PC. So I'm just saying, boys, the hope and the hopium, I'm still huffing on my hopium and the copium. Just saying.
Yeah, I think if there's enough interest for it, it would only make financial sense for Sony to put it out because they're going to see the sales from Bloodborne. It's the one that everyone wishes at least got some sort of a PS4 Pro or PS5 uplift from the original
it's locked
PS4.
to 30 frames. It's a great. I think it's the best Souls FromSoft game, and it's locked to 30 frames. And there's a bunch of stuttering issues in certain parts as well.
Yeah, it's sad that it's still locked, but maybe there's hope for the future. Are there any other games you guys want? Maybe Legend of Link. I think it's interesting that you finally get to play as Zelda. It's not called Legend of Link; it's called Legend of Zelda. Echoes of Wisdom.
Legend of Link.
You're actually
Echoes of
playing
Wisdom.
as Princess Zelda.
They really should have called it Legend of Link. I don't know.
So-
why.
It would have been hilarious.
Yeah, but it
one of
probably wouldn't have
my
sold as well because of the name recognition.
yeah.
Really, at
One of
this
my
point, I feel like
I
Zelda, like, it would have sold. There's no way.
I mean, it would sell, but everyone knows Zelda. Nobody
Exactly.
goes like, "Yo, did you play the new
That's
Link
true.
game?"
Hmm.
Nobody says, "Yo, did you play the new
This is
Link?"
true.
The new
Exactly.
Link game.
But I feel like the Zelda franchise is old
and
enough where they
I
know.
bet even the players themselves to this day, there are players who don't know that you're playing as Link,
Yeah,
not
I agree.
Zelda.
Yeah, they're still.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I think Abdul, you're just a
Yeah,
little too
this is
optimistic
true.
about.
This is true.
yeah. You're a little.
I'm giving people too much credit. I should
Yep.
stop doing
Yeah,
that.
come on. You got. We need your pessimism on this
Look,
issue.
you
Come
gotta
This
go
is the
for
one thing you're
lowest common
optimistic about.
denominator.
Listen, I'm
The-
sure they had this exact same conversation we were having in the boardroom. Like,
Right.
what should we do?
Probably. It does look very interesting. It's gonna play like no other Zelda, maybe closer to Tears of the Kingdom.
They gave it the Link's Awakening remake. You know, they gave it that style, which I
Right.
It's a
think is a very
chibi,
interesting
yeah.
way to introduce Zelda as a playable character, just to kind of like soft launch it
Yeah.
and not like give you a full, open world.
Because
game
people
that
like
they're
that art
doing.
style. Link's Awakening, from
They
what I
do.
hear,
They
did pretty
do. I
well.
think they really, a lot of people really enjoyed the new Link's Awakening
Mhm.
Yeah.
remake. Yeah,
Yeah, and
art
the
style for it.
gameplay
it was very
is what-
fun and friendly.
Yeah, the gameplay style that they revealed for Echoes of Wisdom is what has me very interested of like being able to clone items and have them spawn anywhere, use it
It's
to
very
solve
puzzly.
puzzles. Yeah, so
Yeah, but that's one of the hallmarks of the Legend of Zelda series. Is like it's very like action, but like it's a big puzzle, and you're just kind of going around solving things with like the different mechanics they introduce. And I think a lot of those new mechanics that are introducing in this game are going to make for some really interesting puzzle solving.
yeah, it looks like they're maybe leaning more towards the puzzle side than the actual action side for this, but we won't really know until we actually see the game. So we'll see when that comes out. Before we move on to the next segment, were there any other games we might be missing to at least mention or talk about, at least worthy of talking about?
DK Country remake.
Eh.
I think that's fun.
Yeah,
I mean,
I never
there are
played the
Donkey
original,
Kong fans out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
they're, but
yeah. Have you guys played any of the newer ones?
Fun. I loved playing DK Country as a kid. So
I've never really
think
played any of the Donkey Kong games
Yeah,
myself.
it was a lot of fun.
I never played the
very-
original ones.
It was very, I feel like almost Banjo Kazooie kind of game,
But in a
Running
2D
around
perspective.
collecting stuff. Not 2D, 3D. Or 2D, 3D, the old
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, there was 3D. There was 3D Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one was just called Donkey Kong 64, not Donkey Kong Country, but I might be getting too much in the weeds there.
No, 2 different games. Yeah.
Yeah, because 64 was 3D, but Country, I always remember, even from the Super Nintendo days,
Country
was
was side scrolling. Yeah.
side scrolling. That's what I meant by 2D, side scrolling. Yeah, because the newer ones were like 3D graphics, but you play in a side scrolling
Yeah.
perspective. The ones I played were the ones
Yeah.
for the Wii, and I think they remade it for the 3DS as well. That's the one I played.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were a lot of
that
fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Returns, Donkey Kong Country
The-
Returns.
The one other game, I guess, I'm looking forward to it, but not like necessarily super exciting. Did you guys remember Fantasian? It's a mobile RPG, but they're finally porting it to Switch and all other systems.
Mm.
And it's made by people who worked on like the Final Fantasy series. It's like a
Okay.
JRPG.
I've not heard
and
of this. That's cool.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it until this Direct, the Nintendo Direct, but it looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looked like they had a handful of RPGs, JRPGs that they're porting or announcing. So
Yeah.
pretty neat for the fans of that.
And it shows that one thing I've kind of observed is a lot of game devs, they start out with like pixel sprites, and then they eventually think like, oh, we have to make full 3D. But we're seeing that you don't necessarily have to do that. 2.5D, I don't know if you guys heard that term.
Mhm.
The Octopath Traveler is like 2.5D. The Dragon Quest remakes
I think
are basically
the
gonna be
official
that.
term they called it was HD 2D,
HD2D, yeah, HD2D.
which
I
I love that
personally
art style.
2.5D.
Octopath Traveler looks. I
Yeah.
don't enjoy playing that game as much just because I'm not a JRPG guy, but I just love looking at that game. It's just I can look at it forever.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of glad people we can get good RPGs that don't necessarily have to be full blown 3D, because those take longer to make as opposed to like HD 2D 2.5D, whatever you want to call it, art style.
Yeah.
So this Fantasia game is what was it called again?
It's called Fantasian.
Fantasian, and that's being made in HD 2D style.
It's this specifically isn't. It's a mobile game, but it's coming to everything. Like I think PC, Switch, everything.
Okay.
Let me check if Square Enix, are they the publishers? They are the publishers, and they're holding true to their word. They're bringing everything. They're not doing. It seems like they're not doing exclusives.
Yeah, they learned their lesson from Rebirth. So
and 16.
Yeah. Speaking of 2D HD, just a quick side tangent. There was a I want to say was it Star Ocean or something? Well,
it's Star Ocean.
Yeah, Star Ocean was one of the games they released in the 2D HD style as well. I had the demo downloaded for it. I think I'm gonna try it out after we're done recording here.
I heard really good things about the series. I just wish the first one, the only one on Steam is Star Ocean the second one in the series. The first one's only exclusive on the Switch. I feel like they should bring that over to PC or everything else as well.
I think there's some people there that know a way of playing that game on PC, but that's about as far as I'm going to mention that.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Yes.
Playing on the high seas.
Yep. Let's take a very quick break before we jump into our next segment where we talk about the games we played and also... Yes, you can get to hear from some of our sponsors who might drop us after they hear the topic that we're going
to... Sponsors insert right here.
Your logo
and here. And here.
Yes.
This spot could be yours right here.
Yeah. Don't forget to give us some money too. All right, guys. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing from our sponsors. If you heard just dead silence, it means we need sponsors that need to give us money so that we can, get paid for actually taking breaks and recording this stuff for y'all. But anyways, we do have a pretty juicy topic prepared for you. Before we get into that, just going to warm up a little bit by talking about some of the games that we're playing. And let me pick one person. Let me actually start with Nael, because I saw you playing something on Steam, and I'm, I would like to hear your thoughts on that. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, but yeah.
So I have been diving into my Steam Deck, and I started playing Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart.
Nice.
I am a huge fan of the Ratchet & Clank series in general. Rift Apart is it's a bit of a departure from like their general storylines and even the gameplay a little bit, but I'm still enjoying myself. It plays really well on the Steam Deck, but you do have to turn your settings down, otherwise you feel it heating up.
Really, it did not play well for me at all on Steam Deck.
Really, I put it on low and I locked it to 30.
Abdul, did you play it on your new?
Abdul, did you play it on your... No, I have not played on the new Steam Deck. No.
Maybe now you do have the OLED one then. Probably because it performs a little better.
Yeah, I should check. I know it's 512.
That has to be the OLED then.
That's the OLED.
That has to be the OLED.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If at least if it was bought new recently.
So it was still heating up, and then I was like literally holding it over a fan to play. But then I was like, okay, wait, let me just change the settings. So I made sure, because I think it was set to medium, and I switched to low, and then I locked the frames to 40, and that helped keep it a lot cooler. I didn't have to hold it over a fan the whole time while I was playing.
Yeah, a lot of games are very playable on 40 on the Steam Deck. So that's a good little.
Do you guys know the website ProtonDB?
Yes, I go there all the time.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna say I use that since I got the Steam Deck. I always go to that site, see what the user configs are and what the rating is, and they're often really helpful.
Oh, let me take a note. What was it? ProtonDB?
ProtonDB. Yeah. There's also there's this thing you can install for your Steam Deck called Decky Loader that lets you install little extensions, and there's one called I think it's called Proton. I forgot what the name is, but it links to ProtonDB and shows a little badge of how people rate its compatibility on the Steam Deck. I've actually made a few contributions there myself.
Platinum. I think the highest is platinum, and then it goes gold, silver, etc.
Gotcha.
Yeah, platinum, gold, silver, bronze, and warped.
yeah. So
Yeah, if a game says borked, just the one game that I did play that was borked was Joe Danger 2, which actually worked pretty well on Steam Deck. But yeah. But keep going, Niall. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you
yeah.
there.
I'm. I don't know. It says I'm like 60%, but I don't know what that means. You know, it could be I'm close to the end. For Ratchet and Clank, I always go by like how close I am to unlocking all the weapons. I
Yeah.
feel like that usually gives you a good idea of like how far into the game you are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I have like 4 slots left on the second wheel. You know, so I'm getting towards the end game. But
how did you feel about the new
exciting.
protagonist?
Seemed okay. Not. I feel like the dialogue is really cut down. Actually, the dialogue is way cut down because like there's a lot more interaction, a lot more quips, a lot more joking. I think the dialogue is way cut down.
I agree. Because I played it through it and I kind of stopped because it didn't grab me the same way.
Yeah,
as it did with the
like,
other games.
Like it's a fun game to just play, but
it
doesn't feel like it has the same heart that the other Ratchet and Clank's games have had to the past.
Yeah, and the jokes were a little bit more toned down as well. Like because Ratchet and Clank, it's over the top like silliness.
It's very silly. Yeah,
it's super silly, but it's super fun. And I don't know, it just this one was trying to be a little bit more serious too.
It has the fun, but it's just that heart and soul that makes it, you know, the quips, the jokes, the silliness, feels like it's missing a lot of it.
Is this the one where when it was on PS5 the SSD, it does something with like the little transitions?
Yes.
Yeah, basically it's like seamless. It's the transition between different.
How does that part of is that working nice on the Steam Deck for you, like those transitions scenes?
Yeah, very smooth.
Okay.
Like it just goes from scene to playing right away. There's no lag. Even when I was playing on medium, it wasn't having any issues.
Oh, nice.
I think even on PC, they said that you could actually still play this from a mechanical hard drive. I don't know how the seamlessness of it is, but they said it's playable.
So I was about to mention that Digital Foundry did a test with that where they put it on like a slow, medium, and fast mechanical hard drive, and the way the Rift opens, it's really painful. It's not very seamless. Yeah, it's not very seamless.
Oh, so that's what will slow down.
Yeah, it slows down. Yep.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, they did a good job of hiding it. You know, like it feels very seamless.
No.
Oh yeah, I love games that hide loading screens behind like an elevator ride or like, you know, something.
Yeah, it's always neat.
Well, the Steam Deck does use an SSD, so I'm guessing you're probably playing it off of the SSD. So
yeah.
Anything else you want to get into, Nael?
Transistor, I started it a long time ago.
Yes,
I love Supergiant. I love Supergiant.
Same here.
But Transistor, I started it a long time ago. Like I think I bought it when I first got my Switch. Even though it's been on my list for a long time, I finally got it on my Switch, and then I played through it. I thought I was at the end game, which didn't make sense, and then I realized I've only finished the first chapter, so I'm really excited to like really be diving in.
Super excited into that.
I haven't played it yet. It's one of those games that's on my backlog. That's I have to play one day.
Transistor, Bastion was probably one of my favorite.
Bastion.
Super
I love
games.
Bastion. Yeah,
it's just so fun.
Yeah.
Out of the Supergiant ones, Transistor and Pyre are my favorite.
I played Pyre. Pyre was nice.
Yeah. I dusted off Minecraft again, but I played with my niece. She and I we built a little village. It was a lot of fun. We built
How old is your niece?
And everything. This one, she is 10.
10.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to see if I should play with my
We actually started it like almost 2 years ago. We've just been building little parts of our village. We just played it a little bit last time when we were over.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's it for me.
All right. I'm gonna pick Abdul next.
All right. I've literally been playing only one thing, and so I got it. I launched Fire Emblem Engage again. I played it when it first came out. I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan. I played every single one, loved all of them. I really like Three Houses, it's not a popular opinion among the Fire Emblem super fans because they felt like Three Houses was like it was the combat was a little toned down, and it focused a lot more on the social aspect, which I actually really enjoyed. It was a good break from the Fire Emblem formula. So Fire Emblem Engage kind of takes a lot of that away. The social aspect, it's still there. It's not as intertwined, or like in as deep as it was in Three Houses, but the combat is up there again. Fire Emblem's tactical combat is again, and I picked it up again. And I'm like, wow, the combat in this game is amazing. I don't know why I stopped playing it a while ago, but then I remembered after I played it for a little bit. Yeah, the story is not the greatest. The character
protagonist
designs
looks like a toothpaste.
the character
Colgate.
designs, not a fan. Honestly, they were going for the over the top designs. I get it, and even I'm not to get into spoilers, but there's a reason why the protagonist is the way that he is. But it just didn't grab me.
Wait, there's a story reason the protagonist looks like a Colgate mascot?
Yes, there is. There is a reason why he looks like that. Will not reveal it, but the character designs they were all over the place for this one, and the story isn't as captivating as it was for Three Houses, at least for me. I'll still probably finish it, just because it's the combat's really good and I'm really enjoying the tactical aspect of it. But yeah, it's a shame.
I did a quick Google search just to see what you were talking about as far as the art style goes. I only have one question: is there a sit-up mini game in this game?
A what?
Like I'm seeing what looks like a mini game of one of the characters doing sit-ups.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought I misheard you.
No, there's there's a lot of those little funky things. It's very wacky. It's a very wacky Fire Emblem game, because Fire Emblem games are a little bit more serious. This one is super wacky for some reason.
Like it's less grounded and more fantasy magic and stuff.
Yeah, and so there's a premise of this which it's not really a spoiler, but they introduce a new mechanic, which is basically the main protagonist gets a hold of these rings, and these magical rings are basically they imbue the power of previous Fire Emblem heroes. So you basically play the game, and which each ring you equip, you gain that person's power as part of your arsenal. Your person also has their whatever class, and then they can combine that with the previous hero's power. So it makes you it creates so much customizability in terms of how you can play the game. It's super cool because you get to see all of these older Fire Emblem heroes come back into the game, and you see their interactions a little bit. That aspect of it, super cool. But yeah, the story and the design and the world, 6 out of 10.
Did they keep the dating sim elements from Three Houses kind of the same, or do they up
They
stuff?
do still have the dating elements. It's not as in depth. It's still there, because Fire Emblem games, they're known for hey, you pair up your companions, and that's a huge portion of it. It's a kind of social aspect, but it's definitely watered down from Three Houses. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, Laughing Man, I'm very excited to hear about the one game you've been playing, because it's all over the internet that this game is everybody's wants to talk about it. So
yeah,
let's get into a certain Shadow.
Yeah, I've been playing the new Elden Ring DLC, the Shadow of the Erdtree, and it is calling this a DLC expansion is kind of an understatement, because if you beeline it to the final boss, it's 30-ish hours. It'll take you about 30-ish hours. But if you take time and explore everything, which I'm doing, because I take my time with
that's
these.
More than a day.
I mean, some people they like, yeah.
I don't know what
the,
sort of days
the,
you're on.
the DLC released on Friday. I know some friends already were at the final boss on Sunday, and I was like, "What? How did I'm only like in the beginning area. I'm exploring more caves." Yeah. If you take your
Hey,
time
sweet.
exploring, it's like a 50 to 60 hour game, like DLC
Wow.
expansion. It's when people are jokingly calling it Elden Ring 2, and it kind of fits. It is huge in scope. It's the size of the area is around the beginning area of base game, but it's the vertical level design. You'll see like a giant castle building, and you can go up that entire thing multiple levels. There are underground levels, like you can just jump down. There's entire underground levels. Like the vertical design is absolutely insane.
I feel
And
like they took. I feel like Miyazaki just played Tears of the Kingdom and was like, "I want to make this into
I
Elden Ring."
wouldn't be surprised.
That's
I
what it looks like.
honestly,
Because even like Shadow of the Earth Tree, it's like the inverted world and say the underground world in Tears of the Kingdom.
oh
That's
yeah,
what it reminds me of.
Sparked
I
that so
see
hard.
I see the similarities. Yeah.
That's what it reminds me.
Um,
Actually, I saw. Sorry to cut you off, but I saw like
you're
someone
fine.
overlap the Shadow of the Earth Tree map over the
Tears of the
Aldrigan
King.
map, and it's kind of like almost an inverse of the map, like the giant empty area in the middle. That's where
So
most of your stuff happening. Anyways,
it's funny you mentioned that real quick because years ago when Breath of the Wild came out, people on release day, people were sharing like gameplay clips on Twitter and stuff, and one guy was like, "Ugh, this looks like a Dark Souls ripoff." Because of Breath of the Wild's combat was a lot more like a little survivally,
mm-hmm.
and then the Dark Souls, the FromSoft account responded saying, "We have all taken inspiration from Legend of Zelda." Like like in a wholesome like, "Hey, stop! Nothing's a copycat or ripoff. We're all
Yeah.
taking inspiration from each other." So honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. Now the hot topic right now is the difficulty.
Yeah.
FromSoft Souls game in particular, the DLCs are always harder than the main game, and the DLCs narratively do not take place after the main game. They take place mid-game. So they're generally always harder. Now, is this DLC I am like 75% of the way through. I started a new character for this DLC. The base game took me about 80 hours. I'm around 120 hours now. So I've spent 40 hours in the DLC so far. So is the DLC very difficult? Yes, it is. Now, do I think that's necessarily a bad thing? I think it comes down to personal preference. The DLC is difficult, and I think a lot of the complaints about the difficulty, there's valid complaints about the difficulty, and there's some non-valid. And what I mean by that is the non-valid complaints. So the DLC has a new leveling system. Miyazaki straight up said he's like the intention of the DLC was to make Dark Souls veterans feel like noobs again, which he's succeeded in. When you get to the DLC area, the normal enemies, you could have a max level character, which one reviewer, Gene Park from the Washington Post, did. He had a max level character, 713, so 99 in each stat, and he got two shot by this random enemy, and that's by design. So in the DLC, you collect these what they're called Scadu tree fragments. As you collect these fragments, you level up something called a Scad tree blessing, and the max level of this blessing is level 20. Each level that you level up, it increases your damage and all of your defenses by a percentage, by 5%. So if you do the math, when you get to level 20, your damage is being multiplied by 100%, and your defenses are being multiplied also by 100%. So a lot of the people complaining about the difficulty, saying like, what the hell? I have a level 180, I have a level whatever character, and I'm getting destroyed. Why are little grunts attacking me? Bro, go explore. Go explore, find more Scadu tree fragments, level up.
Gotcha.
These people who are beelining it, they're the ones struggling.
And I feel
It's
like
a very
at this
interesting way to tie a narrative to buffing,
Yeah.
debuffing characters and
Yeah.
making them work through everything.
And this buff only exists in the DLC area. So if you leave the DLC area to go to the base game, it's not like you can be like, haha, now I can go to the base game and curb stomp everything. No, that only lasts in the
it's very
area.
cool way to do that.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, like if you're playing a fun stop game, like I don't think you have the right to complain if it's too difficult. That's the whole point.
Well,
playing
now
a
here's
fun stop game.
here's the other thing which kind of annoys me about some people complaining about difficulty. So I have a friend. He's already at the final boss and he's struggling. And he's been venting to me, and I asked him, okay, are you using summons? One of the mechanics in Elden Ring introduced is you can summon these creatures that will help you fight during boss fights and stuff. They're called Spirit Ash summons, and you can upgrade them. And the most OP one is called the Mimic Tier. When you summon the Mimic Tier, it's literally a copy of your character. Gear, level, equipables, everything. Mimic Tier is like the best OP summon. So he told me no. He doesn't use summons because it's weak strats. And I was like, bro, if you're these bosses,
you can't complain. That's what I'm saying. Like these,
and that's what I told him.
People are insane, and then they're complaining about it being insane. Like,
the Elden Ring DLC bosses. This one I do think is a somewhat valid complaint. They have extremely overtuned movesets. In the previous Souls game, even the hardest boss, they do like 1 hit, 2 hit, 3 hit. Okay, pause. Now you go hit. 1 hit, 2 hit, 3 hit. There's always like this rhythm. These bosses do 6-hit combos. They're extremely aggressive. Every single boss has like an AoE attack, a spell attack, a homing missile attack. They're insane. They're extremely aggressive. And it's clear that the bosses are balanced around the summons. Because when you fight certain bosses, you can summon story NPCs. There are story NPCs you encounter along the way. You can summon them. They help you part of the boss fights because it's a part of their personal quest. And it's very clear these bosses are balanced around that. Like there's one boss in particular, not a huge spoiler because this boss was shown in the trailer, R'Lana. R'Lana is this knight who uses 2 swords. And then in phase 2, one sword becomes fire, the other sword becomes like ice. R'Lana, I'm seeing a lot of people struggle with her, and and the people struggling with her are the people fighting her solo. If you fight her solo, you have to learn the movesets to a T, master dodging like almost perfectly. When I fought her, I summoned the Mimic Tier, and I summoned Knight Lita. Lita's an NPC that you can summon. I still struggled, but it took me like 3 or 4 attempts until I got her down. But if I fought her solo, it'd probably take me several days. So yeah, it's clear these bosses are balanced around summoning. And so I find a lot of the people complaining, one, they're not leveling up the characters properly. They're not using the new leveling system. They're not exploring. Like my friend, I asked him, I was like, hey, you're at the final boss. What's your Scadu tree level? He's like 10. I was like, the max level is 20. Why are you fighting the final boss with a level of 10? Go explore. And it turns out he hadn't explored half the map. Half the entire map. He just beelined it to the final boss. And he's not using summons. So people like that. Now, there are some people who know the challenge and they're not complaining. They're like, oh yeah, this is hard, but I like the challenge. One person on MG I'm going to give a shout out to, Baba Brutal Sam. He's a Souls veteran. He's fighting them solo, but that man, he's not complaining. He knows what he's getting into. He's that guy. He knows what he's doing.
He signed up for
He signed up for it. He's not complaining. But the people who want to fight solo because they're like, oh, this is more ethical. I'm like, no, it's a
game.
The bosses are balanced around this, and the whole point of Souls game is to utilize every tool at your disposal. If you choose not to use summons, you're doing a challenge run. You're effectively doing a challenge run. And a challenge run's going to be difficult. There are people who do that. Like, there are people who beat Souls Elden Ring at level 1 without ever leveling up. They're insane. They're like built differently, but they know what they're signing up for. If you're not using summons and not leveling up properly, you're effectively doing a challenge run, and you can't complain that, oh, this game's too hard and your end game level character isn't curb stomping everything. Because if that was the case, then people would complain like, oh, this DLC's too easy. Yeah.
Too easy.
So yeah,
they told everyone with
Oh yeah,
before going in, they're like, we want to make you feel like it's a new game.
yes. Now, the one thing I'm concerned about is I would consider myself a Souls veteran. I played pretty much all the Souls game except for Bloodborne and Sekiro. If you compare previous Souls game, the difficulty, the boss, even the end game bosses, they have difficulty, but there's like a certain rhythm. They're not as aggressive or overtuned. And I feel like Miyazaki and FromSoft, because people have mastered those games, in order to keep things fresh, they constantly have to up the difficulty in certain new ways. And I'm kind of like, okay, what's next then? Like, whatever his next project is, because he said he still hasn't created the perfect RPG. He's still working on that. Miyazaki's crazy. Yeah, what's next then? Are you gonna have a boss?
The entire game is gonna be in an underwater swamp, poisonous swamp.
So surprisingly, Elden Ring did not have a poison swamp. They have a kind of a swampy level, but it didn't have like a total swamp level, like previous games did. Apparently, I think Miyazaki felt bad, and he's like, I should stop torturing them with that further. You know, they've suffered enough. Now, the last thing I'm going to end with, which it's kind of related to Elden Ring, but not the DLC, because I found it interesting. On PC, there's a mod for Elden Ring called the Seamless Co-op mod. So what this mod does is Elden Ring's co-op is kind of wonky. You summon a player, and the player stays with you until they die or until you defeat a boss. But while the player's summoned, you can't rest at a grace. So you can't rest and level up, change your, get equipment from your chest. And then if you summon a player to help you, you open yourself to invasions. So the game puts you into a forced PvP, which a lot of people hate. So with the seamless, and why is a system like this? Because Miyazaki's an eccentric guy. One time his car was stuck in snow, and then random people appeared, helped him out, didn't speak a word, and then drove off. And he's like, "Oh, I'll take this and make this into a video game mechanic." The dude's eccentric like that. So the seamless co-op mod makes it so that you can summon your friend. You have to play the whole thing offline, obviously. But you summon your friend, they can level up with you, they can play they die, they'll respawn at a grace. You don't have to resummon them. And you basically play the whole game like a normal co-op game. So in a recent interview, Miyazaki said he likes that mod. He knows about that mod. And he said that's actually a really cool idea. And him and FromSoft, they want to implement something like that. They're thinking about it into future games.
That's lovely.
Oh, so they haven't done it yet.
They haven't done it yet. They're working. Okay. They're thinking about it for the future game. Okay. So what I took away from this is Miyazaki keeps track of PC mods. He knows about them, and he might actually get ideas from them. Which, more props to him for being forward thinking.
That's awesome.
Hopefully, he'll take a cue from some of the mods I've been using and add an easy mode in there.
That I don't think he will, because he said in an interview that breaks the philosophy of the game. Yeah. But he might.
If I play it on PC, I can still mod it to be easier.
For people like you, he might give you even more options to, cheese bosses. You never know.
Sure, yeah, but hey, like I said, I want to play a game I want to play. So
true.
People that want.
So what are you playing, Faraj? What are you up to?
Thank you for asking. So I recently dusted off my PS3. It stayed disconnected, but in my entertainment center for a while. Hooked it up, and man, I miss that era of games. There's some nostalgia about it.
Which PS3 do you have?
I have the one that came right after the fat one, the first slim one. Yeah,
I have the OG fat one, the one that's a Blu-ray disc and it has backward compatibility. It's the only one with backwards compatibility.
The OG backwards compatibility.
Yeah, I wonder how much it's worth, because it's like they don't make it anymore.
I think I was seeing.
Why did the new ones? Why did the new model get rid of that?
One time I was seeing them for $600. Yeah,
it was cheaper to manufacture.
Yeah, it was,
I see.
So they were able to.
It was like $600 when it came out, and this is like back in the day.
Exactly.
So it was not cheap.
Because that's something Xbox is beating Sony at, backwards compatibility. You can pretty much play Xbox 360 games on your, through the cloud.
It's not every single Xbox 360 game, but there's quite a lot. Because I also did dust off my Xbox One and hooked it up and didn't need to hook up Xbox 360 for a lot of games that I wanted to play. But just to speak real quickly on the PS3 games, it was I really resonated with what Nael was talking about since he's playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Because I beat the original. I shouldn't say I beat the original Ratchet and Clank. I beat the remake of that on the PS4. And then decided, okay, I want to play the next game, which is Ratchet and Clank 2 Going Commando. I love the names that they have for these, because the next one I'm looking for is Up Your Arsenal. Yeah.
Up Your Arsenal is probably my favorite.
I think
I can't wait to get into that one.
Is my favorite. Yeah.
Up Your Arsenal is top tier Ratchet and Clank.
I'm pretty. I don't think I'm close to the end in Ratchet and Clank 2, but I did unlock more than half of the weapons, so I'm getting somewhere there. But it was that one and Gran Turismo 6, and I cannot believe I slept on Gran Turismo 6. I love being able to play a Gran Turismo game without having to connect online, unlike the newer ones. But yeah, it plays really well. It's a lot of fun. Tried out a few other games on PS3 just to see how they were working on there right now, and yeah, it got me really nostalgic for a simpler time. But that's just me, waxing emotional on that. But on the Steam Deck side of things, I was trying to take your philosophy, Laughing Man, about trying to stick to like one game. Because of my video game ADD, and and because of that, it'll keep me from beating games. So I thought, okay, I know one game is quite a lot to limit myself to, so let me maybe limit myself to like 2, maybe 3 games. So I thought, okay, let me stick with Dave the Diver, because I've been wanting to play through this game, hearing a lot about it. I love this game. I do have one. It's just my own criticism. I don't know if a lot of people have this criticism about it. Is the game, it does a lot of things, and it does do a lot of all those things really well. Because it's a survival game where it's almost like a roguelite where you're collecting stuff, and you if you die, you don't get to take all that stuff back with you. It's a restaurant sim. It's a social, like there's a bit of a social media aspect to it too. There's what's it called, almost like a dancing mini game. It tries to do all of these, like there's so many new systems that keep getting introduced, and I'm like, okay, when is it gonna stop being a tutorial? Because I feel like I've been playing it for so much, and I'm learning new things. And sometimes I step away from a game for quite a bit. When I come back, it's like I don't remember a lot of these things. So that's my only piece of criticism. But I'm trying to stick with just this one game so I don't forget how to play all the other different systems on there. And I thought I'd be able to just stick with Dave the Diver until I saw a video on YouTube that said, oh, hey, there's a way to get the old school black box NFS games working on the Steam Deck. And those were my favorite racing games growing up. We were talking about Need for Speed Underground 2, Most Wanted, Carbon, Pro Street, and I even went up to Need for Speed
Midnight
Shift
Club?
and got all 6 of those. Oh yeah, Midnight Club. Well, I shouldn't
Midnight
say how
Club
I
is
got to working
different.
on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah. But yeah, I love Need for Speed, especially I think I
Underground
feel
1
like
and
Underground
2
were
yeah.
top tier.
Yeah, I think I slightly give the edge over to Underground 1 just because there's a whole thing of like each racer that you race has their own car that you see every time you race against them. Whereas in Underground 2, they're kind of randomized, and the mods are randomized, so you'll see weird, wonky things. Like no way that a human would have modded the car this way, aesthetically speaking, at least. But yeah, I love, and they play it great on the Steam Deck.
That's the one game I'll still dust off my PlayStation 2 for.
Yes. I also got a Steam Deck dock, or not the official Steam Deck. I got a dock for my Steam Deck. So being able to play it like a Switch, it's not a 100% seamless because these are older games that don't recognize the controller. Was it third party, or you get the
official dock?
I got a third party one. I think it was Sobrent. Reputable brand, and a lot of people complained about the docking experience with the Steam Deck. I haven't had much issues with it other than controller stuff, and it depends on the game. Sometimes it doesn't. I have to like go through some setting to switch things, or but it's been pretty good overall. But yeah, so that's the games that we've been playing. I know we are actually running a little bit longer. I'm hoping we do have our listeners still sticking here to listen to us get into our topic. You guys want to take a break, or you guys good to keep going?
No, let's go.
I'm good to go.
Let's jump into it, because I know we've been talking about a lot of really upbeat, kind of lighthearted stuff, but it's this part's where things are going to get a little bit more serious. And just to give a little bit of context, I came across a couple of videos on, when browsing through Instagram Reels, about how law enforcement, there's now more official strategies and official ways that law enforcement is trying to surveil the video game space. There's been a lot of law enforcement presence officially in cyberspace in general, but the video game space, is being seen as a place where there could be some sort of either recruitment or even, spreading of, extremist views. A lot of it comes from this um, one article put out by the GAO, which is the General Accountability Office of the U.S. government. It's a federal office, talking about strategies put out by the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security for trying to monitor these spaces, and a lot of it talks about domestic terrorism or domestic extremism, domestic violent extremism. And the article started out with countering violent extremism, CVE. Now, I don't know about a lot of people listening. I know a lot of this does. It's more centered around the American history of CVE and what Muslims have had to endure with that. The Muslim community has had to endure with that.
Mhm.
There's definitely similar things happening in different parts of the world. I know we have probably different people from the world listening to this as well. But CVE, or countering violent extremism, does not ring a good bell for most Muslims, because it's basically
American
uh,
Muslims. Yeah.
yeah, American Muslims get targeted unjustly, whether it's because part of it can be just some undercover person, whether either works for the FBI or is just getting paid by the FBI or any other law enforcement organization, can just go in there, start trying to see who might be prone to be
Just
extremist, try to
yeah,
get them incited, and yeah. Go ahead,
just
Nael.
for like our non US listeners, I guess a quick rundown, right, of what CVE
Mm-hmm.
was. Right, they were basically offering money to organizations that were affiliated with
Mm-hmm.
certain groups. Right, their main
It's
targets.
dude, Muslim groups. They were
Well,
targeting
well,
Muslims.
okay.
Let's not beat around
Uh,
the bush.
no,
The entire
okay. Here's
program exists to
because of
target the Muslim
Muslims, yeah.
community.
But they did
Yeah,
it
it's
in a
like
way, obviously, to
COINTELPRO
cover
from
their
the 60s.
bases. To cover their bases, they included other groups, but the main target were Muslim groups, right? Like you had your massages, your cares, your you know, Mass and ICNA, so they targeted these organizations, offered them money, and in order to establish a relationship with them so that they could have some communication back and forth into their membership and see who was in their membership, see who they could communicate with, and, get them to report, oh, we're seeing these kinds of suspicious behaviors. Just a lot of, like you were saying, COINTELPRO type.
A lot of entrapment. A lot of
Yeah,
Yes.
entrapment. I
entrapment,
mean,
COINTELPRO.
in Southern California
Uh,
alone, we've had like so
yeah,
many cases of those.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We can go on and on about all that,
Yeah.
but let's
Yeah.
skip ahead. Just want to give some historical context.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is, it could just be something, because when you look at what there was this other article, I forgot who was or which office put it. I think it was called the Office of Justice Programs. It's another federal three letter agency. They had this long piece of documentation about what to look for as signs of extremism, and some of it
I
was like, I just kind of skimmed
I
through
think
it.
it was like NYPD actually.
There was one NYPD that was specific
Yeah.
for the NYPD. The OJP one, the Office of Justice
Mm,
Programs one, was more federal, and I think it was
gotcha.
given as a guideline for these three-letter organizations around the country.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the
And
guidelines were very vague, right? Like praise five
it
times a
was no,
day.
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, someone starts to become a little bit more like, they showed
They
this
grow their
one where a
beard.
guy, they grow their beard, or they have a bit of a weird beard and start wearing a kafia, or they start giving more dawah. It literally mentions dawah in there, so
Yeah.
it's like, oh, they start becoming a little bit more religious. That's something to watch out for. It's a possible
Suspicious.
suspicious. So who knows,
Yeah.
with all these different, not to get into the masjid drama or drama that happens at different masajid or different organizations, it could be one person doesn't like the way certain person is acting up, and they could be, I'm not saying it maybe it does happen, I'm not saying it's
But
happened,
it creates the
but it
opportunity for this to
exactly.
happen.
Exactly. And seeing it in this more recent, and this article from the General Accountability Office, or regarding law enforcement presence or surveillance in the video game space, that article came out earlier this year in January. And basically, it kind of outlined it as, um, it allows these companies, like maybe it could be Twitch or Discord, or I want to say even Roblox and a couple of other places,
It was
where
Roblox,
Anywhere
Discord, Reddit.
yeah,
there's
thank you.
communication happening.
It's like the social. It's the social gaming communities, basically.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Reddit,
Yeah,
Discord, Roblox.
where if there's people that are found to be just violating some of the terms of service, which that alone is pretty vague. The guideline is for those corporations or for those companies to be able to share that data with law enforcement, and that itself is it's because it's very vague. It's that just means anybody could be a target for this, and it
So
really hinders the safety that we kind of get from, like, it's no longer free speech space. There's a lot of thought policing going on there, where it's like
I
you
have
really have to be careful.
mixed. I have a bit of mixed thoughts on this. Obviously, given the history of governmental agencies in the U.S. and how they've spied on minority groups, I don't necessarily inherently trust them. With that said, the reason I have mixed feelings is I don't know how many of you are familiar with Gamergate, an incident that happened in 2014, and that whole thing was like if you learn about it, it's the dumbest thing. It was massively overblown, and Gamergate, believe it or not, is the reason the alt-right and all these alpha male, Andrew Tate, whatever you want to call them, all these groups, you can trace their origin, like that whole manosphere. Everything traces its origin to Gamergate. And Donald Trump's former
In some way or
campaign
another.
strategist, Donald Trump's former campaign strategist, Steve Bannon, he even attests to this. Steve Bannon at the time worked for Breitbart, which is a well-known, very
Didn't
conservative
he own
publication.
Breitbart, or like was like big? Like
I
he
don't
was
know
up
if he
there with
owned
Breitbart.
it. I don't know if he. I don't know.
owned it. I
Breitbart
think
was.
he was like, we could just fact check.
Like
this
editor
real
in
quick.
chief or something. It was pretty big.
Yeah, he
Something
was like
like
some sort of
that.
executive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the time, for Breitbart employed this journalist named Michael Yiannopoulos, very eccentric, very weird edgelord guy, and he basically, when Gamergate happened, he went into that space, and Steve Bannon himself said, "Yeah, I'm harnessing the energy of these like white male, these kind of not disenfranchised, that's not the right word, but these like white males who feel mediocre. They feel like society's kind of abandoned them. They fell to the wayside." And
He was the
he's like,
executive
"Yeah,
chairman.
there you go."
Thank you.
So, and Gamergate, it led to, I have friends who are game devs, like especially women and other minorities. They were harassed, doxxed, their families were like, sent death threats. They were like fearful for their lives. They had to go into hiding, a few people. And the effects of Gamergate, we're feeling them today. The rise of Trump, again, in some way, shape, or form, you can find the origins going back to Gamergate, because that same community, it overlaps heavily with the manosphere and all these things. And recently, kind of a Gamergate 2.0 happened with, I don't know if you guys follow the whole Sweet Baby Incorporated thing. Sweet Baby
Sounds vaguely
Incorporated.
familiar.
No.
So Sweet Baby Incorporated, they're a consulting company. And what they do is literally, this isn't like a conspiracy. Let's say I'm making a movie or a story with black characters. I'm obviously going to consult, readers or viewers to read the story and be like, okay, did I unintentionally make a character kind of a caricature or anything insensitive?
Yeah.
There's
Am I being true to like what this person would be?
Exactly. And that's the whole purpose of this consulting company. And they've consulted on games like Spider-Man, Last of Us, Alan Wake 2.
God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
These consulting companies are very common. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like everyone uses them, just like, hey, take a look over this.
What do you? Media. Yeah.
And the consulting company, they don't have a final say. It's not like they say, nope, we don't like this character. This is a little too offensive. They might say that, but ultimately it's up to the company to take their advice and do anything. Yeah, they just give recommendations. So there was a Steam group, and the Steam group basically would list every game that Sweet Baby Inc. Consulted on. And this Steam group was dedicated to, we need to boycott these games. Now, this was a tiny group with like a couple hundred something members. Now, as I'm sure all of you who've lived on the internet for a while, one of the cardinal rules of the internet often is, if you see something festering and it's small, kind of ignore it. Like on MG, real quick, as an admin, sometimes we'll see teenagers come in, guys, help us report this server, they're Islamophobic. And we're like, just ignore it, dude. It's a tiny server with like little something people. You're just giving it more attention.
Mm-hmm.
One of the executives of Sweet Baby Inc., instead of ignoring this little obscure Steam group, they decided to try to get that Steam group banned, which in turn gave it even more attention and kind of made the whole thing worse. And then suddenly Sweet Baby Inc. became like, on the spotlight, and basically a few months ago, it was basically the discourse I was seeing. It's like Gamergate 2.0. A lot of people, they were like, the woke have taken over video games, save video games, they're political. And so going back to this stuff with the FBI surveillance, there is a rise. There straight up is a pipeline among gaming spaces into alt-right spaces. Because if you're like an average teenager who watches like, your favorite Twitch streamer or whatever, a lot of them have these types of viewpoints, and the way the YouTube algorithm works, they do lead you to these types of, like content and pipelines. Like one day you're watching your favorite, I don't know, Minecraft streamer or your favorite gaming commentator. And then maybe the gaming commentator is a little, centrist or conservative. Next thing, your algorithm suggests you like, oh, this is why the woke and the feminists or whatever are ruining society and culture. And then, there is a straight up pipeline to this. And I have a lot of friends who are like high school, middle school teachers. They've mentioned like these middle schoolers, obviously they're always going to have issues in every generation, but they're like straight up quoting Andrew Tate. Like, obviously middle school guys are going to say dumb stuff about girls, like girls have cooties, it's an evolution of that. But they're straight up quoting Andrew Tate and straight up saying like misogynistic things, like, and they're middle schoolers, their brains aren't fully developed, they don't even fully know what they're saying. So that is a problem. There is a problem of like gaming spaces, particularly with teenage boys, white male teenage boys, into that extremism. But at the same time, I don't know if I trust the FBI to like handle it. In this case, Muslims aren't the ones being targeted here, but at the same, like, again, a lot of these teenagers are like,
I have some thoughts. But finish your point.
With CVE too, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know if
that was worded to be vague and to go after
exactly
domestic,
and vague go after domestic, right? And like there was a rise at that time again of also alt-right groups, right? And like alt-right groups were listed, but who was the end target of that campaign? Like
exactly,
it was Muslims who were feeling, minorities who were feeling the effect. So do we really trust the FBI with this? Like you were reiterating, just to reiterate your point.
And with a lot of these people who go into the gaming to alt-right pipeline, majority of them are like young teenagers. They don't know any better. Like a lot of them maybe don't have a lot of older brothers or like friends, mentors. So they fall into these
active crimes.
Yeah, exactly. They're just saying dumb, edgy stuff, which I've ran into a couple of people on some Muslim teenagers on MG like that, and I've had to, have a one-on-one talk to them and stuff. But yeah, these people, now, are there some people who have actively committed crimes, grooming, or like doing sexual crimes and stuff? Yeah, but the vast majority are teenagers who, they don't know any better. There was a free Andrew Tate protest in Greece when he was first arrested, for example. And if you watch the video of the protest, most of those guys don't even have facial hair. I don't think their voices have even cracked yet. Like they're literal children. I'm sure you guys have heard of Sneeko and stuff. The vast majority of people watching these type of content creators are teenage boys. And yeah, I don't think getting the feds involved is going to solve the issue. If anything, it's going to just...
It's going to make it a lot worse.
You're creating future juvenile delinquents and then putting more people into the system. And making a
So
bigger problem.
Just
I
expanding
have
the surveillance state.
yeah, I have so many
Exactly.
thoughts on this. Okay,
Go for
Actually,
it.
before you get into it, Abdul, can I
Yeah,
just mention one
go
thing?
ahead, go ahead.
Because based on just whether because at the end of the day, these organizations, these three-letter organizations, FBI, DHS, OGP, whoever you're talking about, they're going to be looking at the end of the day when it comes to like their budget and the people that
Yeah.
that are working there and they're getting paid. Just like any corporation, metrics are going to be looked at for them.
Yes.
And what's the
Yes.
main metric looked at there? It's the number of arrests. It's not how many crimes have we prevented, because there's no way,
Yeah.
short of Minority Report, that you can tell how many crimes you prevented.
Future crimes.
Yeah, we don't have a future crimes bureau. We don't have
You
Tom
can
Cruise.
do
You
you
know,
can do a statistical analysis and see like over the year trend how it's fallen, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's not like we've prevented this much crimes exactly. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's how many arrests did we get? How many people
Yeah,
did we lock up?
and those arrests could just be from like anyone where it's like some sort of an entrapment where someone is just coerced into doing something, and then they just, like you said, they're teenagers that just don't know any better. They might have done something dumb,
Yeah.
and they could just get entrapped in this and might even find themselves, maybe not teenagers getting arrested because they fall under juveniles, but young adults could get arrested.
Yep.
And there's quite a few that we know that, or not we know, but that we've heard of many stories that that may have gotten arrested, and some of them maybe not get arrested, but their lives have been ruined because of their names getting dragged through the mud just because someone snitched on them for something.
Yeah.
When you're looking at these three-letter agencies, they're going to look at the complaint and see, okay, how much of a threat it is, and we can't really trust them to assess that threat when they don't even, when all they're looking for is just to get their arrest numbers up.
And they're known for manufacturing arrests with entrapment, right? Because
Yeah.
okay, maybe this person has ideas and views that they have been absorbing from being in these spaces. That doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be saved. They're not acting on these things
unless they've actually committed. And there are cases where crimes have been committed, like absolutely arrest those people and stuff. But if they're just spouting ideas, like deplatform them, like ban them, deplatform them. But like arresting,
and I feel like it almost incentivizes, right, the FBI and these agencies to like what happened with the drug trade, right? In order to find the cartels and get into it, they start spreading more drugs, right? So like literally there could be FBI agents who are being paid to spout more of this misinformation to get into these spaces, right? Like you're not helping the problem.
Yeah. Man, I have so many points to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Where to even start? So yeah, this is like, this whole thing is overall such a huge like it's so bad, especially for the Muslim community, right? Like we have dealt with CVE for quite a long time now, and it's obviously a program that was specifically developed to target Muslims, and is specifically worded to target Muslims and Muslim communities, and has damaged us immensely, right, over the years. And I feel like this is like an evolution of that, in a way, for them to get into a huge part of CVE was them trying to entrap younger Muslims, like Muslim youth, that were active in the masjid. Like I've been part of young Muslims growing up, and we would legit leadership. We would have talks and trainings on like trying to identify, like how to identify potential FBI informants, because that's how crazy it was, and of us trying to be aware.
Post 9/11 generation of kids, we have we literally see this in our masajids and stuff happening like on a regular
legit
basis.
there were cases in my community where there was FBI informants, in our larger communities. And like as the owner of the MG Discord, like this has been top of mind for so long for me. Like it's a space where I'm like, it's so easy for them to come in and subtly come in and start influencing the members of our community and taking them down a road. And it's really hard for us to stop that. I mean, again, moderation is the name of the game, and we've done our best to the best of my ability to try to stop that, or at least to identify that if we see something sus. But yeah, it's huge, man. Like this is there's no positive sides to this that I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely agree. There are better ways to. In fact, I know
And like,
of.
yeah, to your point of like, yes, like there, like, there have been way more um, right-wing extremist, white extremist groups that have popped up, right? But we don't see an organized effort from the agencies to try to cut that down as they
The
have with
ironic part about
CVAs.
that is these same agencies report that they are the highest threat to national security,
Yeah,
or like to
Yeah,
just
they
national
report
safety and
it,
stability.
but they don't
Yeah.
do anything about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
they whipped up this entire CV program for us, but there's no program similar to that for white extremism that we know of today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And Discord is such a breeding ground for these organizations, right? Like some of the, if you think about it, like some of the shootings that have happened recently, they originated from Discord groups. And
yeah.
I remember one of the manifestos was like even posted on like a Discord group, like that like the guy was from this one group that was an extremist group, and I think it was the Uvalde shooting.
hmm.
Um, the kid that did it,
Sounds right.
he was he was on Discord, and he put his entire manifesto on Discord, right? Is law enforcement doing anything about that? I mean, if they are, like, they're doing a very, very
They
crappy job.
have to be fair. To be fair, there are because I've done some research on this on the side myself. The FBI has set up programs to target white extremist groups. But the problem is the amount of funding that goes into it, and even then, again, the problem is always oversight and overreach. It's why. Do you guys know Jonathan A.C. Brown, the academic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
So I forget which incident it was, but it was a white male shooter or someone. He did an act, and people were calling it terrorism. And he said, let's not call this necessarily terrorism, because he's like, that word is very vague. And what's going to happen is when you use vague terms with law enforcement agencies, you give them you give them an inch, they will take like a mile with these things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Discord, I would say, like, they have cracked down. I don't know if you remember, this story's kind of funny. It's sad and funny. There's a 20-year-old, I think he was in the Air Force. He made a Discord group just so he could leak confidential military documents to impress
Yeah,
his
I remember
13-year-old
That was
Minecraft.
hilarious.
But like, not he. We've heard of people leaking confidential documents, like, oh, he got caught in a Russian honeypot to impress that cute Russian girl who's like a FSB spy or a Kremlin spy. No, it was to impress a bunch of teenagers. Like, yeah, look, yeah, I work for the government. Hey, look. These are the confidential plans and stuff.
Love
He
it.
got
Yeah,
busted.
it
The
wasn't
server
for an
was.
Oh,
expose.
yeah.
It was the flex. That was the best
Yep.
part.
Yeah. Not even the War Thunder forums where they leak things to win an argument. Like, no, you're wrong. This tank model actually uses this.
I remember that one. Yeah.
So there are efforts to combat it, and to be fair, a lot of those efforts aren't talked about, like, in the news. You have to go like digging for them. Like the FBI does. They have a shady history and past, but they're also not. And I'm not saying this as like necessarily defending them. I'm just looking at them like from an objective, neutral perspective. They're not necessarily a monolithic organization. They're a massive organization. Yeah. When it comes to, for example, CASM, child sexual material distribution, I would absolutely, if there's proof of that, I would absolutely tip off the proper authorities. So that stuff is terrifying. It's disgusting.
Absolutely.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, for sure.
And they do have a good track record of shutting, that type of stuff down. But when it comes to minority groups and like terror threats, it's where things, violate constitutional rights and stuff. But yeah, going back to the main topic of like them going into like these gaming groups, I've heard of several stories where people had these viewpoints, and then once they grew up, touched some grass, maybe got a girlfriend, got some more life experience and wisdom.
Just kidding.
Hey, listen, a lot of them are non-Muslims, right? So, they basically got life experience. They turned back on their ways, and they even like went back and they said, yeah, I used to be like, this type of person. I had these viewpoints, and then I just kind of grew up. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that a lot of the teenage boys, these are the things they struggle with. It's really unfortunate, but my philosophy's always been, if you can solve an issue without making a law to solve the issue, that's what you should go for. Because as soon as you make something into a law and you get the government involved, that's when you run into problems. You should let the community solve it. And I think the community, like people in the community, everyone kind of needs to step up. Like parents need to, for younger kids, kind of monitor, like, hey, what kind of forums who are you talking to? Like, what kind of forums are you going to? What are they posting? Kind of monitor that type of stuff. And if they see their son, daughter,
we've been working on since
yeah, we can do probably a whole episode on like, we really need to talk about the rise of like Muslim male red pill, like, individuals and
that's a whole episode in of itself.
Like that's the whole thing, how it's super toxic. But
so it's a whole societal effort, and a lot of people, I know a lot of left-leaning people, they'll be like, yeah, well, the FBI is going after like these white supremacist extremist groups. What's the problem?
That's what they said with CVE.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. The problem is that that's an easy Band-Aid fix that may kind of fix it in the short term, but it doesn't solve it socially and societally, because that's a more complex issue and requires everyone to get involved. Teachers, parents, effort. Community. Right. Yeah, it's a community effort. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just speaks to a larger, just to go very zoomed out on this, it speaks to a larger issue of just the breakdown of society in general, right? We've become very individualistic, and people are seeking communities wherever they can. And some get lucky and they find good people early in life. And unfortunately, there's many cracks, and people find the wrong communities and go down these paths.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
One thing I could say as someone who's, I'm sure Abdul can attest to this too, is, trying to raise kids is, it made, I don't know about you, Abdul, but for me, the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child, it like rung true, like, it's, trying to raise our kids.
So essential.
Because it's not just the parents, but it's also like, there's so much that, if you want to parent right, you want to make sure your kid, inshallah, grows up to be, a good individual, and in our case as Muslims, good Muslims. There's a lot that we have to monitor, and sometimes, just to give as just an example, I know maybe a stand-up comedian is not a good example to give as the ideal parent, because a lot of them use their experience as being, for lack of a better term, bad parents as their stand-up material. I can't remember who was at the top of my head, but he was talking about, my kids, my friend, he left his kids at my place, just, and they just wanted to color. They were so polite, so nice. I went to see where my kids were. No, it wasn't Hassan Minaj. It was, I can't remember. It was,
I remember
this white dude, bald dude, very raunchy stuff in a stand-up material.
Bill Burr?
Not Bill Burr. Not Bill Burr. Is the other bald white dude with the beard.
Which bald white?
That narrows it down.
Louis C.K., George Carlin, like there's a bunch of white male.
It's not important who it is. Okay,
anyways, continue.
Yeah, it's not important who it is. But what he mentioned was, his these girls were coloring, and his two boys. He asked them, "Oh, where are the boys?" "Oh, we don't know. We didn't see them leave." He goes and sees them outside. He's like, "Oh, I thought you guys were coloring." He's like, "Yeah, but we broke all our crayons and put it in the mailbox." And hearing that, I was watching that with my wife, and hearing that as a parent is like, that's a definite no-no for our kids. They do that, there's definite consequences for that. And it's like, he was just like, oh, well, what are you going to do? It's like, if that's the approach that a lot of parents take to this, if that's like what the message is, even seeing on, a lot of social media, I know not every parent is like this, but I'm seeing a lot of this. So I can't really tell as to what the statistic is, but if that's becoming an accepted mentality of raising your kids, of being kind of laissez-faire or like hands off about that, that worries me about,
It's probably an extreme reaction, right? As you shift between extremes, right? And I feel like a lot of the parents who are taking that approach were raised among a generation that parents that were very, very strict on them.
Very strict, physically, emotionally abusive. So
that's a whole
so then you get the other
episode.
Result, which is
exactly
too lax.
Yeah, maybe we could jump into that in more detail in a separate episode.
Have a parenting 101.
Islam is the way, the middle path.
Ouch! Way to break everybody's eardrums there.
My ears, man. Apologies to the listeners, especially those with the headphones.
Yeah, but like you said, it's a societal issue. It's a community issue. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Abdul. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say to your point about a societal issue, of it this being a societal issue that we need to address. And because I keep thinking back to MG, right? It's kind of what I center around a lot of my thoughts. I don't know the success rate of us being good at our jobs and moderating. I honestly couldn't tell you. Maybe Laughing Man can have a better judgment there, but it's
how would you even track that stat?
Right, exactly.
I don't know. Yeah. Like we really have tried our honest effort to stamp out extremism as we see it on the server, and I'm going to tell you, it's such an impossible task because we have people from around the world. They have different views. What they see as normal, we might see as like, hey, this is crossing the line. Same vice versa. What we see might normal, they're like, this is wrong. And it's such an impossible line for us to tug, and we do it every single day. And the thing is, you please nobody when you do this, right? Everybody's pissed off. The people on the left are pissed off. The people on the right are pissed off. And like the people in the middle are like, we're also pissed off because you're doing things
you're not doing anything. Like
you're not doing enough, or you're not doing anything, or you're doing too much, and like, oh, you're censoring me here. Well, I can't talk about this.
No winners. No winners.
There's no winners. It's an impossible task that we are burdened to have, and it's truly a thankless job. So you should maybe thank Laughing Man sometimes.
I think it's not me. It's a team effort. All the other moderators, and not just the mods, the other people on the server who, because sometimes
there's so many other people now.
Sometimes people won't come to the mods; they'll confide in a friend, and then the friend will come to us and tell us, "Hey, there's this issue. Can you guys do something about it?" So it's honestly a team effort.
Yeah, and when we talk about raising a village, I honestly it does feel like a village sometimes on MG, especially when crisis has happened. Because everyone's kind of hands on deck, like, oh, this person has an issue. Like, let's try to fix it, as a community. I really like that about MG. I thought that was one of the things that we really built together well.
Alhamdulillah. That's awesome. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, I think that's a really good note to end on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we're past the 2-hour mark for this episode. For those that stuck through to the end, thank you guys for your support on that. Thank you, Abdul, Nael, Laughing Man, for joining us here on this really long episode. It's like we're approaching 11 p.m. as we're recording this. If you're already listening to us here on your podcast platform or watching us on YouTube, you already know where to find us. If you don't know where to find us, we'll have the YouTube link in the show notes, on both the YouTube video and the podcast episode. You can just search for Muslim Gamers Podcast on any podcast platform. You should be able to find us there. And please, we are always willing to hear your feedback. Any topics you want us to discuss, let us know how we're doing. I know one common complaint is that our episodes are getting a little bit too much on the long side. We didn't really help that with this episode, but maybe we might try to cut things down. And I know we have plans to post a lot more of this stuff in a short form content form on social media. So stay tuned and be on the lookout for that as well.
I
Abdul,
blame
Nael, Laughing Man.
Microsoft. I blame Microsoft. It's the Series S's fault that the episodes went too long. There.
So other than what Laughing Man had to blame Microsoft for it, Abdul and Nael, and even Laughing Man, do you guys have anything else you want to add?
No, I think we've talked.
Yeah, we pretty much covered a lot of ground.
Lots of yapping, guys. Thanks for yapping with me.
All right, listeners, viewers, thanks for sticking with us for this long, and we will see you on the next episode. Assalamu Alaikum.